After the death of his daughter, the father went completely crazy. Those who defamed his daughter, they became ghosts under his sword. But late affection is worse than a sword of grass. That her daughter died full of rancor was caused by himself. He was her daughter's only relative. But since he was a child, he only left his daughter a look full of disgust. He, helpless, longed to be loved. And then the boy appeared, like a moonbeam. From then on, the boy was everything to him. He began to become paranoid. If someone approached the boy, he changed color, and it was this young man who pushed him into an even darker abyss. The princess of the empire was killed by poisoning. The first suspect for the young man, it was the same, despite his attempts to explain himself. The young man's gaze grew darker and darker. He interrupted his speech. I'm sure it's because I fell in love with the princess. He caught a low ball. For an instant, he was stunned. Around him, people were murmuring. A beast called disapproval, with a strange look, was about to devour him. Just when he didn't know what to say, his father appeared. He thought his savior had finally arrived. But the gesture of his hand was still so cold. He still remembers his father's look that day, despite the fact that he tried to defend himself vehemently. Those hands were still like steel pincers. That they did not release him until they took him to the reformatory. This is the place where they lock up those condemned to death. He understood that he had been abandoned. How could he be so naive as to think that his father would help him? This feeling is so familiar to him. Ever since I was young, I've always disliked him. Day after day, year after year. It seems that my father has never called me by my name. I should have known. To my father, I've always been a burden. My father said nothing but drew a sword and he put it in my hand. He was stunned for a long time, but I couldn't believe it. And his father's back was still so resolute. His heart sank. That armor called Bad Girl no longer existed at that time. After all, I was just a girl. I was also afraid. And what is more terrifying, soon his judge arrived. That voice is getting closer and closer. He was the crown prince, known for his cruelty. He was so afraid that he could not speak. It was better to face the devil's icy kiss than to end his own life. This existence of mine, despised by all, no one would care if I died. That cold blade was near. The next second, it would pierce through his frail body. This tragic story ends here. And he, as a reader, the first thing he did to the transmigrate to Belian, it was confessing to him in the moonlight that we were finished. I would never forget it. This is the male protagonist who slandered Belian and the one guilty of sending him to the guillotine. He could not defend himself, and it was his own father who sent him to prison. Under the double pressure of despair and sadness, ended his despised life. This is the end of the novel, but not his. As an experienced reader, he was reincarnated as the tragic young Belian. The first thing she did was meet with the young man, that is, the protagonist of this novel, Marquis Ike. To change the tragic ending, he directly proposed to Ike to break up, and that seems a little unfortunate. Only 3 hours late, so much drama that he would make that impatient face. It was something Belian had anticipated. After all, he had been her servant. He thought about how to express himself correctly. And he said seriously again one year. This time, Ike's gaze denoted a certain disdain. He looked at Belian's back. Suddenly, he felt an irrepressible anger. Belian had finally gotten rid of that feeling of having a lump in her throat. But as soon as you enter the house, he ran into his father, the Duke. He was the only soul master in the Empire, and never aged. And Belian, who had read the original novel, knew. This handsome man's father never loved himself, even the sword with which he took his own life. He gave it to her himself. The two, without speaking, were about to cross paths, but Liam decided to say hello. Their training must be very hard. He knew his father. In this life, I did not aspire to receive his love. But as Duke, his atomic resources are immense, a great help for their long life. But his father's expression was still so cold. Belian stopped insisting. After going to the palace, he returned to his room. Today, there is no training. He thought he had misheard my father talking to me. You're back soon, too. It was logical that my father would think that. He usually followed Yi Kai and didn't come home. After thinking about it, I decided to give in to my father. Break. My father was reluctant to listen to him. He strode over to ask me why. He remembered that his father liked Yi Kai very much, and he had always wanted him to become her son-in-law. His father frowned, and then he turned around and left. I guess he didn't want to waste time with his useless daughter, and the maid was completely crazy. This Miss Belian, when she was not happy, began to beat everyone. I just broke up today. Physically, I'm sure there's nothing left. But when I opened the door, he was surprised to find Berlian crying. He was scared. He thought Berlian was affected by the breakup, but I didn't know that Berlian had just yawned. So he decided to go along with it. He pretended to be in a bad mood and threw the maid out. And the maid, as soon as she left, met her father. He told her everything in detail. His father was horrified. He should be very affected. So the two, who had never eaten together, sat down at the table. Berlian was also very puzzled. "What's wrong with my father today? Please don't make that face, okay? Not at all affectionate. Also, if you're not going to add anything, it's better not to add anything. Like a clumsy beginner. He doesn't understand why his father is like this." Clearly yesterday, after learning of the breakup, he still scolded him furiously and severely. But what Belia doesn't know is that her father thought that Ikena, that brat, is mistreating his own daughter. In Kabarian's eyes, his father must be ashamed. After all, she always wanted Ike to marry her. And he is an honorable duke, the head of the army, a great national hero, while he is a nobody, and he also doesn't understand social norms or have friends. He must think that he is very unlucky to have been like this. But his father's next sentence blew him away. "Berlian, what's your ideal type?" He was surprised. "What does this mean, father?" He has always been indifferent to him. Could it be that he wants to surrender quickly, to experience the hardships of life at such a young age? He thought about it for a long time, a man even more powerful than his father. After all, those kinds of people simply don't exist. Marriage is best postponed if you can. As long as he doesn't make her angrier, just pick a man who is unlikely. Wealth, reputation, family, appearance, skills. I like that kind of man. His father was visibly worried. After thinking about it, he unexpectedly accepted. In the afternoon, he even took her shopping, something unheard of, followed by a large crowd. He stares at something, and he orders to buy it directly, feeling his father's gaze. Berlian dies of shame, and enters a store to hide. However, he walks into a men's clothing store. A man walks in right after her. A very handsome man, and those red eyes, they are familiar to me. Before I could react. "What are you looking at?" "Get out of here." Brat, which he is believed to do. "Dude, all this you bought only costs 1 silver coin." "What did you buy?" "I want twice as much." Belian looked at the man defiantly. The boss looks a little incredulous, and Belian is very sure of himself. But this is the shine to make the pectorals shine more. "I'm done aiming, I did it very quickly. I have more than a dozen handsome bodyguards at home. They always need maintenance, right?" "I see. Then one alone won't be enough for you. I'm gonna look for more of it." "I'm done." He finished him off with gunshots. The man threw a gold coin, and he was about to turn around, when Balian quickly stopped him. "He will be a foreigner. A gold coin is enough for a commoner's sustenance for a month." The man, after hearing it, was stunned, but he turned around and went straight away. And those who were waiting for him outside, they respectfully called him Her Majesty the Queen Mother. Balian doesn't know. It is the person who indirectly caused his death in the previous life. And Balian and his father, after a busy day, are about to return home. Balian suddenly feels bad at the time of renaming the staircase. A pair of wide arms protect him. He clearly sees that this person is his father. He was slowly losing consciousness. His father suddenly became very kind. She even picked him up in her arms. You have to know that before, when he was talking to his father was impatient. Did he feel his father's warmth for the first time? It felt really comforting. But little by little, he stopped hearing his father's voice. "My arm is going numb." The father was instantly frightened. "I shouldn't get so close to my daughter." "Wake up, if you leave too, what am I gonna do?" Berylan seems to have some conscience. He feels that someone is crying. But when I opened my eyes, there was no one there. I guess it was a dream. The doctor told him that he had been in a coma for 3 days. He was surrounded by gifts. All those young ladies of the nobility hoped that he would recover. They sent him gifts. But I knew it was impossible. As a villain in social circles, her greatest innate characteristic was not having friends. At that moment, my father strode closer. That closeness of Balian, his subordinate, was pure pigmentation. So it wouldn't be a dream, right? When my father has been so good to me. And the next second, he turns around and leaves. As I feared, he just glanced at me symbolically. Those gifts are also for my father, because of my father's face. I, who have always been despised, I have always been a burden to my father. From now on, I must change this situation. First, I'll respond to those who send gifts to change the impression. Then, I will study diligently to gain knowledge. He should become independent from his father. But just as he was hugging a large stack of documents, he found that his father was sitting there waiting for him. He always looked at him coldly. Hiding your concern after a book. A concern mixed with doubts. Then something worse. I was even going to ask him about the knowledge of the book. Belly almost died of fright. Luckily, everything had been learned. Dad didn't seem happy either. He left a book before leaving. But it turns out it was about tactics and strategies. Do you want a girl to dedicate herself to fighting? And there was also a pendant in the book. It's something very personal about Dad. She planned to pay the money back before Dad worried. But he accidentally overheard a secret conversation. Abre seems to be arguing with someone. There is anger in his tone. He's rebuking the red-eyed man. Balian pokes his head out. He discovers that the visitor is the man he saw in the specialty store. Master, why do you insist on looking for a burden? That's precisely why I'll get stronger. Someday you, too, will find the person you want to protect. For a parent, that person still exists. He is someone who does not even care about the life or death of his daughter. Otherwise, he himself would not have died so miserably in prison in his previous life. And the man discovered the existence of Balian. Just as he was about to execute it, he was severely reprimanded by his father. That face was full of sinisterness. The tension between the two was palpable. Seeing Balian leave, the father said to him in a low voice, "You know who he is. You are trying to provoke me." The man avoided her gaze. He said he didn't know who he was, but I had learned fencing from him for 10 years. I knew how ruthless that man was. The only thing that relaxes you. It is his daughter, Belen. When he heard his daughter's name, the father smiles like a flower. If it weren't for the girl, perhaps he would already be a living dead. And Max is increasingly bewildered. He has experienced life and death since he was a child. Before my mother passed away, she entrusted me to the master when I was young. And since then, I lost my vitality. People forget quickly. The false friendship in the royal family was broken. Even my mother's funeral was extremely poor, simply because I was too weak at the time. From that moment on, he swore that he would not be trapped by low emotions. But soon reality would hit him. Her daughter had broken up with her boyfriend. The father intercepted a letter from the ex-boyfriend. Ika had not broken with Balian. And besides, this brat, as she dares, they all reveal a lack of respect for her daughter. He even dares to ask for an answer. Someday, this will burn out. Their main target now is to quickly find a suitor for the girl. You should not allow him to feel bad about the breakup. Meanwhile, Belen, he receives the letters leaked by his father. It's an invitation to a birthday party. Ji Jianren has heard of her. It is Ruth, the Count's daughter, who swore to defeat Belial in the future. One of the characters of this village, but in this timeline, his relationship with her is not bad. Belial reflected. I called 2 maids. I asked them to look for flowers and lace bows. I have to survive in this life. It's important to clear my name. And Ruth receives Belial's tears of repentance, often the soft words between the lines and the carefully combined decoration. They completely captured his heart. I didn't expect to receive an answer from Sister Belian. In fact, he always admired her. His delicate face caused him special envy. To his surprise, Belian turned out to be an inveterate lover. He only had eyes for young Master Ikai, and the rest of the people were ignored by him. But now, all that doesn't matter anymore. He got his idol's autograph. Soon, Belian also received a letter. He over-imitated her ornaments. Although it was quite rough, the joy between the lines. He subtly covered Bayan's letter with a magical touch. But the letter was too long. It could be considered that he has gained an eagerness. Meanwhile, in society, the noble ladies who received Belian's letter whispered to each other. Some said that Belia did not have good intentions, but others thought he was kind and considerate. The discussion that was getting louder caught someone's attention. It was Ike, Belian's ex-boyfriend. The young women had heard that Belian used butterfly bows as an ornament. I have answered each one. Ike, hearing this, was furious. His face gradually darkened. He returned to the mansion and asked the butler, only to find that no one had sent him a letter recently. So the bitch plays this with me. Do you dare ignore me, wife? Always spying on me. I have too many suitors around. They're desperate to get my attention. Frustration invades her. I'll make you repent. He will also go to Ruth's birthday party. He must at that point make Belial repent for the rest of his life. And Belial's next move, and that humiliated Ike even more. repeatedly. He went out to the street to pick out a gift for Ruth, but she unexpectedly noticed a beautiful jewel. He thought it would look great on his father. He would take the opportunity to return the pendant he had lost. Maybe his father could get close to women, but unexpectedly, just as he asked the employee to wrap him, and the green-haired man behind him saw it. This is Ike's cousin, and its action of choosing cufflinks for men. She was seen by Cousin Bokassus, and even more, his conceited behavior. It disgusted Belial. He withdrew his hand and turned to leave, and this made the cousin think he was nervous. Now, looking back, she told her ex-boyfriend how pathetic it looked, and her ex, Ike, was also quite disgusted. It turns out that Brienne left you to go with another man, and that he felt a little bad, but he himself saw Brienne and buy cufflinks for men, and then he fled in terror. That is not a test. Give a cufflink as a gift. It means that you belong to me. Ike's fury, which was already about to explode, it was about to overflow. The cousin, seeing that the situation was getting ugly, and since he had already achieved his goal, he turned around and went straight away. Ike didn't care if he left or stayed. At that moment, all I could think about was that I had a man. He remembered the girl's flattering attitude. It was he who said he would love her forever. However, he was also the one who left first. But he remembered to vent his anger everywhere. Even if his hands were stained with blood, he didn't care. The recent one was the cruel abandonment of Belial, but he forgets his past as a rake. Belial endured his emotional abuse over and over again. That's how louts are. They never loved anyone. They just enjoy the thrill of being adored. Meanwhile, in the Duke's mansion, Belial is still looking forward to it, father. The carefully prepared cuffs and pendant have not yet been delivered. It looks like Dad won't be back tonight. The night deepens. He, embracing the task entrusted to him by his father, fell into a deep sleep. But unexpectedly, the door to the room opened slightly. An unknown figure was slowly approaching. Looking at the girl's back, he seemed somewhat confused. He slowly stretched out his hand, but he happened to wake the girl from her sleep. He thought of their gazes, meeting in the distance. Those eyes still showed some tiredness. Max's movement also froze. He wanted to verify if the girl his master had protected at the cost of his life was the girl who is so valuable. That longed for his eyes. He finally understood. But what about this girl? How can she be so calm in front of a stranger? First, I wasn't afraid of him at all, and he even felt frustrated at being awakened. She felt discouraged. He even dared to turn on the light in front of him. What a daring and foolish girl. But in the light, he could see the girl. He was stunned. Looking into the girl's eyes, he suddenly felt an obsessive possessiveness. And Belial finally saw the man's face. His eyes showed a contained joy. So it's you. Recognizing that the visitor was his father's disciple, it took a weight off his shoulders. In fact, when he heard the noise, he had out of fear. He thought it was an attack of sleep paralysis. He even thought he was a murderer. And he regretted having made so many enemies in past lives. But luckily, he was his father's disciple. Next time, he will close doors and windows tightly. If not, my heart won't bear it. After knowing that it was Max, I speak with more confidence. But I didn't expect the other party to be so rude. He put the sword directly to his neck. He, angry, shouted a lot of expletives at her. Max, after hearing it, moved his sword a little more. But unexpectedly, Belial began to yawn. This left Max completely speechless in front of such a naive girl. On the verge of getting angry, he heard Belial shout at him furiously. Go home immediately. Max felt a little uncomfortable hearing that, and he said unconsciously, I didn't add. This phrase added fuel to the fire in Belial's heart. His father's disciple was a mercenary. So you wander around. Max thought for half a second. He dutifully nodded his head. At that moment, in Belial's eyes, Max looked like a lonely little dog, one of those who kick out of the house. No wonder he went to look for his father in the middle of the night. Besides, he used to be in hiding. Reuniting with his father must have a secret identity. That's why he sneaked in and accidentally entered my room. This seemingly reasonable logic was formed in Belial's mind. Then he sighed. I have to fix my father's messes. If you have nowhere else to go, you can stay here for now. Max. How considerate. He doesn't know that he came to get something, does he? And Belial thought that, since his father was not there, he should take care of the guest. He immediately brought a blanket and put it in Max's arms. He even patted her and told her to remember to return the favor. And without caring about Max, with his disgusted face. He lay down on the bed and yawned and fell asleep. He even started snoring. Even Max, being the crown prince, was petrified. I didn't understand what was wrong with this woman. He didn't expect Balian not to be afraid of him. He didn't expect Balian not to understand that he had come to kill. But he did not forget the purpose of his journey. The Emperor has always threatened his master with Balian's safety. He must help his teacher to get out of the situation. Slowly, he extends his hand to solve Balian's problem. She suddenly thought of the way Belial looked at me. He was even a little hesitant when looking Belial in the eye. Selfishly, I wished I could look at him a little more. Even just being by their side, unexpectedly I feel calm. I didn't think that, after so many years on the battlefield of blood, I could let my guard down here. Maybe today we let it go. We leave it for tomorrow. And the next day, when Belian woke up, discovered Max sleeping in his bed. Luckily, nothing had happened. And that face, of course he was more handsome than her ex-boyfriend. To avoid misunderstandings, Belian decided to wake him up, but she didn't expect them to grab his arm tightly. With a quick movement, they laid her on the bed. "What are you up to?" Max had a fierce expression, as if he had eaten poop. Belian was speechless at the ungrateful man. Not only did he sleep in his bed, but he also got angry. But the next second, he laughed, leaving Max completely stunned. The more ferocious he behaved, Belian laughed the most, because it looked like it, like that of a black kitten that I used to see as a child. He also, without any shame, took possession of her bed. And he was also a boss who didn't listen to advice. That's right. As Max looks, Belian couldn't help but laugh out loud. If Max had a tail, he would surely be hitting the bed with it by now. At that moment, the doorbell rang. It was the maid. This man and woman alone in a room. Naturally, it could not be known, so let Max follow us obediently, and we put it in the closet. You don't want to be misunderstood. Hold still. After all, we have had a night that has left us wanting more. Max felt a little annoyed. Why want more? Belian smiled kindly. Using animals as an example is like talking about mating. The conversation made Max visualize the scene. Suddenly, embarrassed, he shouted, "What are you saying?" Belian quickly covered his mouth. At that moment, the maid heard a noise. He was about to open the room, but Belian stepped forward and locked the door. "You don't want to be misunderstood either, do you? If you want to see me often in the future, stay here quietly." When Jan and Max really thought about it seriously, and then they responded meekly, Belian was also relieved and very happy. He even raised his hand and stroked his head as if it were a pet. If it had been this good before, all the better. Max was about to get angry, but Belian did not listen to him. As Crown Prince, this is the first time anyone has dared to ignore him like this, and the maiden came in and asked Belian why he had locked it. Belian felt guilty, and dissimulated by saying that he had not been the one who had done it, that he was afraid that thieves with bad intentions would enter, and then he glanced sideways at the back cupboard. He remembered that the lady had been discouraged lately. The maid had an epiphany. She understood that Belian did not feel safe. He took the lady's hand. He guaranteed that he would protect her. "Whoever comes, I'll drown him." But it was that nod of the head he noticed the bruises on Belial's hand. While Max was very distressed in the closet, I didn't expect the assassination attempt will result in him being taken for a bristling wildcat. At that moment, a girl's voice was heard from outside the closet. "Go down a little more." What strange and dangerous words. The innocent kitten was terrified and trembling. What's going on out there? He remembered the girl's words before leaving. His worldview collapsed. They will not be mating. But he soon realized that it was impossible. He narrowed his eyes, anger consuming him. That woman dares to make fun of me. He was preparing to run out of the closet. The maid's worried voice was heard again. "It's best to ask your doctor for painkillers." But no damage has been done. Belian naturally thought that the other was acting. "I'm sure it will hurt a lot. Look, he has a purple wrist and shoulder. I accidentally fell out of bed and hurt myself." Max felt a shiver of guilt when he heard that. He must have been injured then. Damn, survival of the fittest is natural law. That is not obvious. I don't know how much time passed. Belian finally made it to the closet. The instant he opened the door, Max's eyes were dazzled. He can now leave. Her beauty made him red as a tomato. He didn't expect the girl to invite him to breakfast. The Crown Prince, who had never eaten with anyone. He immediately asked why. Because food tastes better when eaten together. As soon as he finished speaking, he took Mau Mau's hand. "The chef at my house cooks very well. You can wait." The girl's sudden closeness made his heart flutter. The feeling was strange and unfamiliar, but it turned out to be a cucumber sandwich, and cucumber was his favorite food. To the girl's concern, Max took the sandwich with trembling hands. He put it in his mouth in one bite. How is it going? It's delicious. Hearing it, Mao Mao even tastes it carefully and even nods mechanically with a pitiful expression. He doesn't even know what he's doing. Seeing the girl happy because she likes the sandwich, that strange sensation reappears. It seems that cucumber isn't so bad after all. After eating, Belian is very sleepy. And with the help of books, that feeling intensifies. Take a look at the sofa. Max seems to be very comfortable there. You probably don't know. He is lying in Belian's resting place. Being observed like this, it is difficult for the cat to ignore. What are you looking at? I see you sleeping so comfortably. His inner monologue is, when he goes to read it, he will really wait for my father to come back. If he is a disciple of my father, he should know his tastes. Max feels watched and gets nervous. He urges him to go to the big time. How about a gift like twins? Belian's restless attitude, his face flushed, and his behavior as if he had done something wrong, revealed signs of danger. I quickly take the book from her face, and he leans over to ask the girl to whom he is going to give a gift. Who else am I going to buy cufflinks from? Should know. Although they did not know each other before. Belian had heard that Qi was chasing Chuyi. I didn't expect this fool to keep insisting. How unpromising. Are you going to bring cold noodles to that kind of person? Hearing this, Belian's face immediately darkened. You're crossing the line. You're being very rude. The exciting and kind concern. What he received in return was a partiality without limits. Suddenly, a bitterness invaded my heart so that you get involved with those unscrupulous people. It seems that you don't even know what pride is. After these words, Belian, who until a moment ago had a cold expression, he was completely stunned, trembling completely, struggling to suppress the bitterness, explaining that I'm not meddling just so I can get along. After all, that person is your father. The air freezes in this moment. Unexpectedly, Max got the wrong person. The next second, he smiled silly. This operation will not fool Belian. I tell you, stop laughing. At least say something. Coco, are you going to give cufflinks? Yes. Is this really? Useless for a swordsman. It seems that you know how to choose gifts. I recently gave my father a great gift. Lately, he seems to be very bored. Thanks to me, he has found happiness in his later years. He is very satisfied with it that you gave him then. You don't need to know. Whatever you give him, Duke Froyen is sure to like it. Belian, hearing that, was surprised. A liking expression, as easy as that. Then I won't ask you. In an instant, Max's big head was filled with small question marks. Did he not know that the Duke had always loved him very much? The father always sacrificed himself for his daughter, but she was always in ignorance. Speechless. Is this what you want? At that time, Regis was in the tree, angry. Suddenly, he heard someone say that he was handsome. He was a very brave little bird. He raised his hand to chase him away, but the bird wouldn't leave. No, my daughter's afraid of small animals. At that moment, news came from the mansion. Hearing Berlian's name, the old father immediately appeared in front of the guard, scaring him. Speak fast. What has happened to Berlian? Seeing this, the guard hurriedly explained, It's nothing. It's just that the lady is very restless, because you haven't been home. Imagining the daughter missing her father. That girl has never said anything like that. It is the first time. It is the first time. I see the Duke smiling so happily, the guard went on to say. Besides, it seems that the lady is not feeling well. He doesn't leave his room. It seems very strange. At these words, Regis fell into deep reflection. At this point, this farce for Max had to end. He had to see the Emperor immediately. 4 days had passed since Regis discovered who the mastermind was, and there was still no news. The Emperor gnashed his teeth in anger, but Reggie was still calm and collected, saying that he had not yet found the root of the problem. But the Emperor did not believe it. He ordered him to find that disgusting rat. Hearing this, Regis couldn't hold back any longer. Max had previously said that his daughter was a rat, and now it was his turn. The tables had turned. Actually, he already knew. The disturbance of the Emperor's assassination attempt was Max's doing. The other party definitely hoped that he and the Emperor would come into conflict, taking the opportunity to free himself from the Emperor's control. But what Max didn't know was that opposing the Emperor was only a matter of time. The murderous gaze, like that of an infernal sura, frightened the haughty emperor, making him tremble after making sure that the murderer will not appear again. The emperor, even if he feels a lot of frustration, will have no choice but to withdraw, then stay a few more days. So I'll stay one more day. This boy respects him less and less as emperor. He doesn't even consider it anymore. Besides, Regis is already there. It has been a long time since he took advantage of his weakness. He abuses it. So the emperor decides to tie a short rope to him. That rope is the crown prince, Max. Before deceiving Max with the promise of the throne, he must find a way to control Princess Floriane. Thinking that his father would go to his office first when he returned, Berlian opened the door to his father's office. Just leave the gifts here, and you'll be able to sit down without having to give the gift to my father in person. At that point, discover the list of villagers on the desktop. The only one missing was the crown prince. Max's name, crossed out with a fist. The gifts she was carrying in her arms fall to the floor. Berlian clearly misunderstands his father's intentions. The crown prince is furious. The image of himself being forced into marriage flashed into his mind. I couldn't believe it. His father had promised him in marriage to the bloodthirsty crown prince. I hadn't even mentioned it to him. Although it had been said that she wanted to marry someone with wealth, fame, good family, good looks, and great skills. And the crown prince of the empire met all those conditions. But he was also a demon who murdered without batting an eyelid, and he also wants to treat him well. My father even wants to marry him to that kind of person. It seems that my father's goal is a marriage with the royal family. But father, how can you do this to me? Belia is not there. The cat can only stare at the door, dumbfounded. At that moment, a strange aura emanates from the windowsill. A big hand is extended. The person in the darkness felt that his fate was strangled. He asked in a threatening tone what he wanted. That person struggled to get him to release him first. After all, I couldn't take much longer like this. But Max, hearing this, not only did not let go, but increased his strength. They sent me from above. They said that His Highness might be here. It looked like the man was about to go crazy. Max then left the person on the ground. What do you want? We have received news. They say that the Emperor has lately behaved in a detestable manner. We have heard that lately, the Emperor, following the suggestions of several ministers, he wants you to return to the palace as soon as possible. Maybe you should come back soon. His Royal Highness, Crown Prince Max. By that time, Mao Mao had already reached an agreement. I didn't know if that woman had seen the note. I never thought I would ever leave something like that. If no one came to look for him, perhaps I would really continue to live there as if nothing had happened. Suddenly, they stopped in an open space. From here you can see the duchy in its entirety, urged by his subordinates. Max shook the rope and went inside. The next day, Berlian woke up on the ground. He was still thinking about his father's apprentice, so unreliable. The sun was shining on his butt and didn't even wake him up until he gave a note on the ground. Then she remembered that this man was gone. I don't know if he has found a place to stay. I didn't expect that he would now be in the mood to care about others. The most important thing now is to settle your own affairs. He looked up and saw things on the table, and he thought his father might misunderstand him for that. In addition, yesterday he forgot to confirm the list of blind dates. He's really having a hard time. Since Michi arrived, Berlian has stayed in her room and doesn't want to go out. Now that Michi is gone, he stares out the window every day. The maids are worried about his current condition, taking advantage of the fact that Berlian was proposed to go for a walk a long time ago. These days locked in the room may have affected him. Berlian immediately agreed. I was thinking that I had to solve the marriage and the pendant. Before his father returned, when he heard the voice of his father, the one who should be in the palace, he appeared before their eyes without notice. Berlian stood stiff and messy. His father's next words left him completely stunned. Berlian, I will not leave you alone again. It was the first time he had said something so sentimental, and Regis's face turned red in a moment that should have been moving. Berlian felt a wave of panic. He didn't understand why his father suddenly said that. He would have received some kind of shock. Berlian, you've had dinner. No, not yet. Even if you're alone, you have to eat at your own time. If you don't eat on time, you'll faint again. The words of concern were transformed for Berlian. I'm sure my father thinks that if I faint, I can't marry the crown prince. He too should simply see me as a commodity for an arranged marriage. Fainting is not allowed afterwards. Her gloomy face frightened him so much that he trembled. The next second, his father suddenly approached. She raised her small hand to her daughter, invited Abelian to dinner together. This is the first time his father has held his hand. What am I gonna do? These hands will eventually land him in prison. Before, the naive Belian, who longed for his father's affection, has already died. Now, all this no longer makes sense to him. Despite her youth, the girl had a very bad reputation. Normally, everyone avoided it. But because of her status as the Duke's daughter, she received numerous invitations from successful men to be her dance partner. Not only the royal knight, famous for his skill with the sword and his manners, but also of men known for their physical attractiveness. And the Count, a man of eloquence and civilization. There is even the current head of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, originally worried about not having a dance partner. Now he faces the difficult choice. Finally, he decides to choose the handsome Count Luo Yiwei. The maid leaves the room with the answer, and she is intercepted by Duchess Florian outside the door. After learning that her daughter had already chosen the food, he disappeared into the night. The scene changes, and Regis had already arrived at the mansion of Count Louis Vuitton. The Count's son was trembling with fear. Without knowing why the Duke was looking for him at that time of night, he asked tremblingly, but only a cold puppet answered him. Lu Yiwei almost in fright at the sight of this. Regis then scanned it from top to bottom, as if removing it, the glasses, and said coldly, "Edwin, Angelo, and Yiwei don't measure up." The next day, Lu Yiwei visited Princess Florence. When he arrived at the reception, where only he and Belian were, under Belian's astonished gaze, he fell to his knees with a dull thud. Trembling, he said he had heard that Belian had already found lunch, so I had already agreed to do it, with another girl. And now Belian is madly in love with a man. The news has spread. The protagonist of this rumor, at this time, the truth is that he did not expect it. He never imagined that such an absurd rumor would circulate. It could be that one of his father's disciples was seen from near the window. Even if he doesn't know who invented the rumor, if it catches you, it will make you pay. The magnanimity that Belian showed completely conquered Louis. That you don't meet the requirements now, it doesn't mean you'll never be able to find someone. Belian pulled a rose out of nowhere and invited Belian to dinner. At that moment, he felt a flurry of murderous intent. Duchess Florian was keeping watch in the dark, with just a glance. Managed to terrorize Luo Yi until he fled. He will never return to this terrifying place again. Meanwhile, somewhere else, the cat was participating in a social gathering, mingle, in this type of event. It was like being part of the town's intelligence team. The topics of conversation of the ladies made him very uncomfortable. They were all curious to know who Miss Florian would date, after having rejected Duke Kai himself. I heard she's dating someone, but no one knows who she is. Can't the man she dates show herself? At that moment, someone spilled a glass. The place, which was once noisy, is now quiet in a terrifying way. They enjoy criticizing behind my back. Did you all see it with your own eyes? Do you dare to say that in front of Miss Florence? Do you dare to say that in front of the lady? 3 consecutive questions that make the soul tremble. Those gossips can't refute what's right. They find Frey, the owner of the banquet hall. This person even knows that he is the crown prince. It turns out that this is your place to gather information. Upon learning that Roiwi was so enraged at rejecting Belial as a dance partner that Max's hair stood on end. What kind of person is Leho to be hugged like this? They also rejected the Duchess. Rumors that Miss Florian meets every night with a mysterious man. They come from the son of the Duke of Droll, i.e. Ike's cousin Geralt. And Yikai is unhappy with the permissiveness in the face of his cousin's defamation of his ex-girlfriend. He will not let either of them escape. In one day, he wants to know all the dirty laundry of both of them. And he has also asked Florian for the data of those who work in the midday office. But this information has already been bought in advance by Duke Florian before Frey could say it. Nyx was already gone. After Roiwei is gone, Regis still cares a lot about his daughter's 5-generation blood. So he drove out of the mansion. Catnap is also very concerned about this. After the master left, I entered Horta Diaz in Berlian's room, and I found myself face to face with Berlian, who had just entered. I didn't think he was serious when he said he would be back. They must have thrown him out again. Lately, he has had enough problems, and now this cat appears. It's a real headache. Seeing Berlian so distraught, the cat, with a serious expression, asked him to tell it. First, you must promise me that you will not tell your father. I promise. I swear that if I tell you, I will punish myself with 100 gold bars. It's okay, even if it slips away from me unintentionally. I will give you all my fortune. Her serious expression was really adorable. Someone who doesn't even have a home. As you say, you will give him all your inheritance. Be careful, I really might not want her. A smile so beautiful that it makes cat face red as a tomato. If you keep looking, your heart will probably skip a beat. In fact, there are some bad rumors about me lately. Something like Floyan. And a secret affair with an unidentified man. That kind of thing. But a secret romance is not shameful. I have not done anything wrong. I am totally transparent. Only, probably for that reason, the people who invited me to dance left one after another. Max's expression immediately darkened, angry that those people believed such rumors. If I were him, I would certainly choose to trust, unconditionally. The next second, he was ashamed of his own fantasies. In reality, that is nothing. The problem is that my father wants me to marry, has already given its internal consent. She hoped that the master would want to use her daughter for a marriage alliance. It turns out that in front of him, that whole image of a loving father was a farce. That's why Billion insists that my father see that he has 5 senses. Otherwise, it would surely force him to date. Perhaps your martial arts partner is closer than you think. The elegant Billion suddenly stands up and says, "He's right, closer than I think. Thanks a lot." Mao Mao was about to reluctantly agree. But what Billion said next made him tell the truth on the spot. Wu Ban, as always, has to bother Geraldini. Although he has already explained it so clearly, Billion still doesn't understand Mao Mao's heart. He chose his guard and relative. If it's a relative, no one will say anything. Literally, in 12 seconds. Hearing that he is a relative, Mao Mao's tense nerves relaxed. "Thank you for listening to my problems." Billion smiled. "Life and death are unpredictable, so that my heart keeps beating. I can't stay here any longer." I had barely taken 2 steps when Billion called me. He tossed me an adorably explosive bag, full of gold coins, so that the kitten would accept it with peace of mind. Billion said, smiling, "It's not a free gift. You have to be like this time. Come and cheer me up when I need you." Actually, I was only worried that Meow Meow was short of money and had to sleep on the street. If you ever have nowhere else to go, you're always welcome here. Understood. Meow Meow pursed her lips without saying anything. He just nodded timidly. On the outskirts of the city, on the other side, the head of the monster department was about to execute Floyan, but suddenly, Fumo was frightened. His palm almost fell off. De Sheng reprimanded the coachman and waited for him to prepare the carriage. Then he heard a cold male voice. "You are Ronald Herman Crooks. If your intention is to come to my house, you don't have to. So it means that I'm not worthy of having a relationship. And he comes to warn me not to go near him. If you have understood, turn around and leave." Then Belian made an appointment with her father. And first, he gave him the pendant he had lost. His father, upon receiving the pendant, was as indifferent as ever. Now, let's get into the matter. Seeing the elegant cufflinks, the eyes of the parents lit up instantly. It was the first time that her daughter had given her a gift. Belian was cautiously trying to win his father's affection. But his father did not respond for a long time. Just when he thought his plan had failed, her father not only accepted the twins with joy, and you still wear it on your chest as if it were a treasure. You're even going to accompany him to his birthday party. This is completely out of what I had planned. Also, my father seems super excited, and he does not dare to reject it. Time passed quickly, and the day of Miss Annalise Loe's birthday party arrived. Freya looks like she doesn't have the will to live. He, who should have the weekend off, he was called by the Crown Prince to work overtime, and his task is to help Belian solve her difficulties. Sure enough, Belian hasn't arrived yet. Those present can no longer contain themselves and begin to murmur. For Frey, who already has first-hand information, this is a piece of cake. She easily solved it with a few words. As for the rumored secret romance, if we find the person carrying those twins, we couldn't. And Ike has also come to this party. They are already waiting. The look of a couple who have attracted a lot of attention for their breakup, reuniting at a dance. If during this time the night Ike meets the owner of that group of bandits again, I have to say, it's a shame that this group of people don't dedicate themselves to writing novels. The words before were heard by my ex-boyfriend. He wants to see who Belian will come with. The protagonist of this rumor is on her way, and the father said he would stay with his daughter all day. The two were the center of attention. From the beginning, let everyone keep silent, National Hero Regis, Duke Floyan, and beloved Miss Evelyn Floyan, the famous Duke Floyan, who would attend a countess's birthday party. And in person, he's as handsome as rumors say. The flattery is incessant. But in Regis's eyes, there is only his beloved daughter. The Count hugs his daughter and Remember to be careful with steps. Who will touch the heart of the rumored golden bachelor? It finally surfaced. In an instant, everyone was stunned and surprised. It turned out to be a gift for his father. But there were still malicious people who defamed the Duke, being his father. Surely he had prepared it to silence the rumors. Regis, with a serious expression, seemed to be about to confront the slanderers. A single glance was enough to silence them. He is angry because they dare to speak so badly of his daughter's gift. This old fox smiles mischievously upon learning that the Duke has the twins. That's okay. Besides him, Belian, what other man could it be? How could Belian forget something like that? Duchess Floyan's appearance honors the Earl's home in Enliloch. Countess Enliloch and her daughter come to say hello. Ruth finally met the person she admired. Happy Fu steps forward to thank Belian for coming today. I really wanted to meet Miss Floyan. Who wouldn't like such an adorable Ruth? Belial returned the handshake, and he took out the gift he had carefully prepared. Everyone was curious to know what it was. When opened, it turned out to be a metal box with a drawing of a tomb. It also had a small mirror. Seeing Rose with her head down, he thought he didn't like it. But the next second, Rose burst into tears of joy. This type of gift was truly revolutionary. With this compact laptop, even without a maid, one can put on makeup. After the birthday party, the compact, recommended by Belian, will become a very popular item. All the young ladies are eager to buy it. I could tell you that Taller makes this compact laptop. They still lament that Belian cannot speak. The next second, the voice they were waiting for arrives. It is Fidel defending and attacking. Although he is young, he is a player whose ability deserves confidence for the future. Keep in mind that on social media, everyone is absolutely. They would share attack and defense information with each other, breaking the traditional barrier of Belian, simply an angelic existence. The girl cried. The man was frightened. Why are you crying? A cat that suddenly appeared saw Belian in disarray. How is it that my father's disciple is here? Although I don't know what happened, but don't cry. Tell me who hurt you. Actually, I've just been yawning a lot. And that has made me cry. But Belian had no intention of telling her. If someone hurts me, I must go teach them a lesson. Yes, I didn't promise I'd help you. The cat cares so much about him, even though he was really moved. A commoner who offends a superior with disrespectful words, he can be sentenced to death, and much less if he physically assaults him. He doesn't want the kitten to lose his life. Do you want to help me? So first change that way of speaking, especially in front of others. I do not allow you to speak with such insolence. The cat is totally confused. You have to speak according to the situation. Saying good things helps you to be honest. Saying bad things can sink you. Especially nobles are very sensitive to this. If the class system were abolished, perhaps it would be different. In short, pay attention to your surroundings, and only if you respect will others respect you. Understood. Wenyan the cat squeezed out 3 drops of cold sweat. He replied with pride, understanding. Speaking of which, what do you do at the party? I still have something to do. Actually, I just wanted to see Belian. According to what I heard from Belian, today, Duke Florin will be Belian's lunch companion. For that very reason, no one dares to invite Belian to dance. And the music has already begun. The kitten extends a hand. You don't understand why I offer my hand. I'm inviting you to dance. This is yours. I never dance with anyone with the cat so close. I have to admit that he is very handsome. I thought that being an ordinary cat, I wouldn't know how to dance well. I didn't expect her to dance so well. What's going on? You're thinking too much. Shining wall beneath his feet. Without a doubt, the cat caught him perfectly. How dangerous. What are you thinking? I just realized it. The two were too close. Their faces instantly flushed like the butt of a monkey. They saw that they were getting closer and closer. Suddenly, there was the sound of glass breaking. She immediately walked away from him. When he turned, he saw Regis with a murderous look. What are you doing? He just wanted to spend a quiet day with his daughter. There is always someone who approaches him without measuring the consequences. He also saw it when Berlian went to the terrace. He thought nothing would happen and didn't think it mattered. At that moment, her ex-boyfriend appeared out of nowhere. Berlian went to a place where there was no one. He wasn't insinuating that he went after her. But the next second, his blood froze. Florin, the Duke, with a murderous look, stood in front of him. His sudden change of attitude. I don't dare to move forward. It must be because I broke up with his daughter, and that's why he changed his attitude. Under heavy pressure from Regis, Kai, the womanizer, can only do it. Last time, the daughter despised him. He didn't expect that he would now chase Yanhuo. He has always liked to be insistent. One problem is barely solved, and another one arises. Suddenly, I saw my daughter dancing with someone. A man, I thought he was a friend of Berlian's. To dodge their vigilance is quite frustrating. What family that boy is from, we'll investigate later. But then I heard my daughter scream. I was paralyzed, as if I had been struck by lightning. He appeared on the terrace and saw this scene. With a murderous look, he warned the disciple to stay away from his daughter. As the person who had spent the most time with Max, he knew well his risk-taking character, if it weren't for the fact that the late queen had entrusted him with the boy's future. Anyone who dared to approach his daughter, he would kill without hesitation. The two, without understanding anything, immediately kept a safe distance. At the time, Belial was more concerned about the wound on his father's hand. Seeing that tense face, Regis's handsome face softened slightly. Didn't my father see me in the room? And that's why he sought it out. Belial looked at the mixture of wine and holes before him, not knowing where to start. The sturdy Regis took his daughter's hand to take it home immediately. At that moment, someone took Belian's other hand, since he also had an injured leg. The next instant, Max's hand was abruptly pushed away. With astonishing speed, Regis protected his daughter by standing in front of her. She didn't need anyone to care about her daughter. The sudden princess hug made Belian blush. Before leaving, he didn't forget to warn Max that he should not return home. At this time, Belian can only obey her father. He can't make his father angry. Remembering what his father had just said, the softest part of his heart seemed to be pinched. He may really have expectations of his father, but he clearly knows what the end of this story is. But now is not the time to think about that. There is a more urgent matter at hand. Father, you won't pretend to leave the ballroom like that, will you? Listening to the murmurs that come from everywhere, Belian asked his father to take him down, but her father did not listen to her. For him, his daughter's health was the most important thing. Thus, Belian faced the most embarrassing scene of her entire life. After the two women walked away, the murmurs of the people became even more brazen. My God, they're not ashamed to do this at someone else's banquet. He will not be trying to attract attention. He must have done it on purpose. If it's that young lady, she's quite capable of doing it. This comes from a girl with a great sense of justice. It seems that everyone has forgotten that Miss Freudian is in poor health. The one who said that was the hostess of the party, Ruth. She was seriously explaining to everyone the reason why Belian had left like this. The gossiping young lady suddenly looked a little embarrassed. Speaking of which, it seems that Miss Florian is not usually in very good health. I heard that he had fainted several times before. And that, in a corner. He heard those words. Then he realized that he had possibly misunderstood Belian during all this time. Remembering the past, Belian had always chased his steps with difficulty. At that time, he thought it was to get his attention, and he pretended. Now, it seems, Belian was indisposed then. Amid the murmurings of the crowd, he felt an inexplicable pain in his chest. The scene changes to Florian waking up. Belian had been laid in bed by his father. His father's hand tenderly rested on his forehead. He charged him that if he felt bad, he should call him immediately, until his father left. Belian still thinks this is all unreal. Clearly before, he always treated it as if it were transparent. But lately, inexplicably, she's really good to him. But even if she's good with it, what benefit could she get? It is so that he, when he marries the crown prince, will be healthy. I thought that as long as I broke up with Ike, I could get rid of the death ending. But now, father directly replaced Ikai with the crown prince. I just escaped from one trap to fall into another. Belian, I won't accept that my life ends like this. Dad, I won't accept this marriage, we'll see. Meanwhile, Mahomi is sitting there, lost in thought, since I saw Belian at the banquet. His mind was occupied by the bright appearance of the other. At that time, if he had come a little closer, but he was immediately ashamed of his own lewd thoughts, as if shaking your head, those thoughts could disappear, and this has continued since his return until now. It's the first time I've seen such a strange commander, Frey. Soon, or even immediately, it will affect the fish in the pond. Fra of the island, on my behalf, sends an invitation. Believe me, an opportunity to meet. With whom? With Belian. It's not that he doesn't want to. Right now, it's hard to meet Miss Floria. What do you mean? What do you mean? It is in high demand right now, taking advantage of the fact that the girl's father is not at home. Mao Mao ignores what the teacher said and knocks on the window of the girl's room. The next second, the girl pounces on his arms. How about we go out together? The sudden declaration of love scared the cat so much that he swallowed 5 kilos of output. A week later, he finally met the girl he wanted to see so badly, because he had been waiting for his teacher to leave home. The idea of dating Bellion, he didn't even dare to think about it. If that were to happen, many things begin to make sense. That Bellion had always been so good to him. It was because he was in love with him. If this is what Bellion desires, then she will grant it to her, even though she feels like it's going a little fast. Having a son and daughter after the wedding should be enough. If they were twins, they would be even more adorable. At that moment, Bellion's voice was heard behind her. So that there are no misunderstandings, I will explain it to you. I want to have a contractual relationship. Mao Mao's smile faded in an instant. Bellion watched Mao Mao's reaction out of the corner of his eye. As for appearance, Mao Mao is their genius. In addition, he is someone whom his father values very much. No one is better suited than him to play this role. It would be ideal if you cooperated, but seeing Mao Mao's expression, it seems that he is not going to accept docilely. I'll give you all the money you want, as long as you accept my deal. But Kimin's cat has not only given no signs, but seems even angrier. Don't worry, this has a deadline. I just need us to talk about you becoming independent. With that said, the cat instantly became serious. It won't be too hard to leave this home. Why are you leaving? Remember I told you I saw Dad's list of candidates? The problem is that Dad has already chosen someone. And with my position, I can't refuse. With that person who prevents you from refusing, it seems that kitten is very curious. On second thought, after which Gato promised to help and keep the secret, Bellion said slowly, "This guy, Max Asser, did he tell you anything about it?" Cat suddenly realized something. That is not the Crown Prince of the Empire. It's him in person. Are you really going on a blind date with the Crown Prince? Yes? Strange. How is this possible? Actually, he's not as strange as the young lady of the Florence family, Berlian. It ranks second in the empire in terms of status. Also, if you become your father's concubine, there are sure to be many advantages. But with the master's dominance of the authority and royal marriage supported by the people of the empire, not even Miss Duchess can refuse first. It cannot afford those consequences. So before his father forces him to have a date, he has to find someone to date quickly. And if your daughter has an enmity with another man. So naturally, I can't go on a blind date with the Crown Prince. I didn't expect it. Bellion loathes the Crown Prince to this extent. And if the Crown Prince doesn't care, how about the Crown Prince likes you just the way you are? Bailey and Anne Wenyan, the Crown Prince towards her. The scene of proposing to her appeared in her mind. But the image is so beautiful that he does not dare to look at it. That's good for you, isn't it? The Crown Prince is the successor to the throne. He can give you whatever you want. Meow, meow, I was very serious. This made Bellion reflect again, but his conclusion was still to flee. After all, who would want to marry that abusive tyrant? She prefers to be single all her life, rather than marry him. That phrase deeply wounded Mao Mao. He's not sure if he can take the next hit. Well, if he leaves, at least that it gives a definitive answer. It is not known whether he rejects or accepts it. A loud bang rang out, which made him jump in fright. I didn't expect the boss to come back in such a bad state. It seems that he is in a very bad mood. I asked him timidly if the matter had been resolved. His response was a murderous look, which means, a woman avoiding her date. You will not be asking a rhetorical question. Besides deeply loathing your date, is there any other answer? Thus, the kitten suffered a little more again. The loyal girl's blind date is with himself. But man is not happy at all, but falls into deep despair just because the girl doesn't know the man's true identity. The rumored Crown Prince is cruel and ruthless. She prefers to stay single for life, rather than marry royalty. Max is so sad that he can't speak. After all, he had already planned how many children they would have after getting married. Seeing the Lord's grim expression, Julie thought that his proposal had been rejected. He didn't expect the active party to be the Duke's group. Suddenly, his gossiping spirit began to burn intensely. It was evident that Max wouldn't say anything to him, and he worried about the Emperor's movements. The Emperor kept urging him to return to the palace, and the Queen has sent assassins. But all the killers have been captured, and are awaiting their decision. The current queen, Elizabeth L. Asset, has been trying to take his life since he was a child. Secretly, he poisoned the concubine especially. Now she is restless again. He is thinking about whether he should behead the assassins immediately, to give it to the Empress. In her mind, the thought suddenly appeared that Bellion didn't want to marry this abusive tyrant. So, after much thought, he decided to keep the manuscript for the time being. Frey, who had followed him for years, was shocked. Simply because that wasn't Max's style at all. But the next second, what he was told next left him stunned. Someone has suggested that I go on a blind date. Oh no, if there was a blind date, I would definitely notify you directly. What's wrong with him? Nextwind's face suddenly darkened. He put on his cloak and left. Meanwhile, in the weakened Belian house, Belian shared an unusual and warm dinner with his father. The discomfort, as always, was palpable. At that moment, Belian was deeply regretting. I should have done anything to hold the kitten. Then he heard his father's voice. I just prayed that he didn't bring up the topic of arranged appointments. And, of course, just what I feared happened. What do you think of the Crown Prince? What he saw at the birthday party? It continues to unsettle Regis. Belial, who still doesn't know Kitty is the Crown Prince, just wants to change the subject. I haven't thought much about it. I don't really know. Speaking of the Crown Prince, lately I've been reading the history of the founding of the country. The past of the first founding emperor is really interesting, especially what refers to the emperor's crafts, of all shapes and colors. Many anecdotes of Regis were recorded in classical language. Always serene, at that moment he panicked. He took his coat and, with the excuse of an emergency, left early. I had never seen his father with that expression, and my father would never leave like this all of a sudden. Regis left the temple, and his face looked even worse than before. I can't believe Belian is studying about the royal family. History books don't tell everything, but if my daughter suspects anything, we'll be in trouble. But Belian is learning about royalty right now. What could be the reason? It will have something to do with the encounter with Max. But even if Belian was very innocent, it's impossible for her not to know anything about those bad rumors about the Crown Prince. Even so, you decide to accept it. What will you do then? At that moment, Belian found this. He had just seen that his father didn't look well and couldn't stop worrying. He was also afraid that he had made a mistake again, so he followed him. He glanced at his father on the sly. To his surprise, his father seemed very happy. He even put his coat over him. Knowing the Crown Prince well is also a good thing. Father mentioned the Crown Prince again. Belian felt an immediate chill. Of course my father wants me to marry the Crown Prince, but I won't give up so easily. With a smile on his face, he promised to take care of Belian. For your happiness, I'll never let that boy touch you. I have decided. I must talk to you again about the contract. Two people in a relationship with the heart in the mouth, when they will be able to resolve their misunderstandings. Let's wait and see. The bad boy. To see the girl. Take advantage of the girl's affection and get the tea invitation. Hey, he's finally going to meet you. Belial received last night another letter from Ruth. In addition, he attached an invitation to a tea party, thinking that he could use this opportunity to stand out in social circles about the exploits of the Crown Prince, such as, for example, what the Crown Prince hates the most, etc. So, the next day, Rose received Belian's romantic invitation. He accepted her invitation to tea, but the appointment would be held at Vero's house. They had to ask him first. What no one knew was that Vero had always admired Belian's ex-boyfriend, although inwardly he felt very reluctant. But seeing everyone's illusion, he finally agreed. After the party, found Yikai, and he complained about Luce's unilateral decision when he saw that Yikai did not pay attention to him. Vilo felt even more aggrieved. That person was the one Miss Florencia had spoken of. Yikai, hearing that name, stopped wiping his shoulders. Miss Floyan is going to your tea. Yes, I don't understand how this happened. At that moment, Ike suddenly approached him. He lifted a strand of hair in front of the girl's chest. Miss Vero, then you would invite me to your tea. Miss Floyan is going to attend. I don't stay calm with you. Hearing that they cared about him, Vale seemed to lose the ability to think, and, blushing, he accepted Iker's request. But what he didn't know was that Ike did this just to see his ex-girlfriend, Belian. The scene changes and Belian appears at the market. Your goal today is to choose a suitable outfit for tea. His father assigned him a bunch of guards today as well, perhaps because that style of design is trending lately. All the stores have a similar style. Although they are beautiful, they do not fit him. As he sat hesitantly, a clear female voice sounded beside him. If I were you, I definitely wouldn't wear those clothes. This is his first time meeting Frey. His kindness made him feel inexplicably comfortable. That kind of revealing clothing doesn't seem right for you. Even if it's fashionable, we don't have to wear uncomfortable clothes or clothes that don't fit us. Also, this design doesn't fit with its elegance. Thanks to Frey's advice, it finally made up its mind. And Frey now understands why the master has fallen in love with this young lady. In person, she is even more beautiful. Finally, Bilian goes ahead with the style she wants. He ordered it directly, he was getting ready to go home. An uproar came from the front. Who do you think you are? Do you dare to harm a noble and still wait? Apologize immediately. Through the noisy crowd, he saw that everyone was repulsed by Gordon. You didn't fall alone. Why should I apologize? That arrogant and disdainful tone, as rude as the man Gordon, who looks down on everyone. It is clearly that of my father's younger brother. What is he doing here? The kitten's words made the Gordon boy tremble with fury. You scum, how dare you face a noble? What are they doing standing there? They tie up this insolent commoner. Mao was still thinking about how to get rid of this Bilian, that he had appeared out of nowhere when King stepped in front of him. Gordon recognized Balian immediately and quickly prostrated herself to greet him. I can't believe that the daughter of the national hero also knows him. Gordon let out a sneer. If I behave well today, maybe I'll get an award. But the next instant, his enthusiasm ran into a wall of ice. Balian spoke coldly, saying that she was very displeased. Had he done anything wrong to the young lady? It turns out that Balian is the one who hates this flattery the most. Today he is going to pay him in kind. I command you, in the name of the hero of the empire, my father, Regis Floyan, don't bully me, to successfully rescue Mao from the nobles. The girl lied that Cat was hers. Cat's heart, which was rescued, was pounding. In front of everyone, he took the girl's hand and said, "Thank you for saving Miss Luo. Although it was certainly a bit confusing, I was also able to meet you thanks to that. How good. I have something to tell you. What if we have a dating contract?" Balian immediately covered Mao's mouth, something as important as he can say in the middle of the square. His actions seemed extremely ambiguous in the eyes of others. Everyone began to speculate about their relationship. The next second, Mao was taken to the carriage by Balian. I can ask you why you changed your mind. It wasn't actually the cat who changed his mind. I didn't immediately respond at the time. It was because of the sadistic tyrant who detested Balian himself. Clearly, it was not the time to reveal the truth. And the reason why he showed up there, it was because there was information that indicated. Days later, Balian will attend a tea party, which will also be attended by her ex-boyfriend, Icarus, although they are not clear why Icarus will attend the tea party. Normally, hosting a tea party to reconnect with an ex doesn't mean there are still feelings. Realizing this connection, Max could no longer sit still. After asking everywhere, I tracked it here. To prevent Ike from doing anything at the tea party. It must be stopped. It can only be done after starting the contract courtship. Joining Balian. That way we can go to the tea party together. I'll let that brat know he's not welcome. But before that, he has a question to ask you. Why are you proposing a marriage of convenience? Instantly, the cat becomes nervous and clenches his fists. Even if you don't have a house or money, you're someone approved by my father. Max, Wenyun's dog, is in disbelief. He opens his eyes wide. So after so much effort, he is getting excited again. And if I had to give another reason, of all the guys I know, you're the only one I'd confidently confide this to. That said, the kitten changes its attitude 360 degrees. The corners of his lips rise uncontrollably. That reason is good enough. Her appearance again left Belial completely paralyzed. Although Max has a terrible character, his beauty is totally his paradise. So let's talk about the conditions. How much do you want in reward? They say that talking about money hurts feelings. The smile Max had cracked stopped in its tracks at this moment. Graduated, so I don't need a reward. Let's consider it as compensation for causing you harm before. Balian was completely moved by Berlian's words. He grabbed the cat's hand and only praised it as an angel. As a thank you, I can offer you demonstrations at any time. In addition, if you need anything else, do not hesitate to tell me. Let go of my hand before I tell you anything. Balian, far from letting go of Brillian's hand, on the contrary, it squeezed me even tighter. Now we are a couple. Don't be so distant. After all, this personality is not funny. His life is at stake. Since you have accepted the engagement contract, we will not only hold hands and arm in the future, but you will also have to say my name gently. You knew it. I was about to introduce myself. I didn't think Kitten knew it anymore, but even so, he always calls him softly. Just thinking about it, I get angry. And the thing about the kitten's name being Max. Balian also heard it hidden in her conversation with her father, thinking about it, Max and the weed agreement. Indeed, he is very satisfied with all aspects of the cat. It seems that your parents gave you that name, in the hope that you will succeed. The cat nods in agreement, but Balian's next words left him inexplicably uncomfortable. So let's start drafting the contract. He believes that these things were not originally written. After all, he didn't intend to derive any benefit from it, striving to put on an expression of compassion towards an intellectually handicapped. It seems that not even the father taught his disciple some basic knowledge. Listen carefully. All contracts and agreements must be signed in writing. If our conditions don't have evidence to prove it, that doesn't mean I can use you as I please. And besides, I could blame you for everything bad. But Mao Mao replied firmly, "You wouldn't do that." Unexpectedly, the villain despised by all. She also had a day when someone trusted her unconditionally. This feeling is really strange and wonderful. He is the villain hated by everyone. His image as a villain for years. He made him believe that it was logical that they did not want him. All crimes are wrongly attributed to him. Even close to death, no one believes him. That's right. But there is someone who believes him unconditionally. It feels warm, like the winter sun. But one thing is one thing. Why are you so restless, kitten? The stats, they always take advantage of acquaintances, even if they are very close people. It cannot be easily trusted. You definitely have to sign a contract. It looks like I'll have to work hard during contract courtship. So it seems that Bellin has thought of something. Grab the cat by the neck and pull it closer. Before signing the contract, let's agree. Gee, this has confused him. Closer. It's very important. But he's not yet psychologically ready. Starting practice so early won't be too quick. But then I thought, practice is important. Gatto approaches Balian. She is about to give her first kiss. A blow. The carriage hits a stone. Balian looks around, but he just doesn't see the beads sticking out of Cat. When he fixes his eyes on Gatto again, the kitten adjusted his posture. He realized that he had misunderstood the situation. He blushed from head to toe in an instant. The carriage quickly arrived at the Florence mansion. "Miss, could you explain to us what is going on?" "Excuse me, let me introduce you to my boyfriend, my cousin." Geraldine almost jumps with excitement. This is too absurd. As his personal bodyguards. We have never seen this man. He will not have been seduced by the face again. It is normal that they do not know. We met earlier at Duke McDuck's banquet. If so, this boy might as well be a noble. Although he dresses like a mercenary, it certainly exudes an aristocratic air. I don't know which family of the princess it will be. Just when he was thinking that, Berlian suddenly appeared. Although he is not a noble, I am just an ordinary mercenary. Berlian's sisters gasped. That's very strange. You, a simple mercenary. How can you be so close to the lady? Geraldine. His attitude bothered him. A simple guard dares to look at him like this. Only the master and the stranger know his face. Every time this happens, he gets very angry. But so that the Balian plan can go ahead, Max holds back. At that moment, Balian, with immense satisfaction, declares, "Because I saved him." At that time, I was surrounded by many young ladies in a very compromising situation. But as soon as I open my mouth, they all disperse. That is why he feels that he has a debt of gratitude to me. Actually, the lady also saved him just now. It looks intimidating, but it's actually so fragile. The kitten was speechless. At that time, I was not obsessed with him either. And as fate would have it, we met again on Annalee Road. Reunion at the reception. I met him again in the market district. Suddenly, I had a revelation. He was the one I was looking for. That's how Balian tricked the guard. What follows is the important thing. Duke Florian is not so easy to fool. Don't be so nervous. No matter what, I'll protect you. Protect? What do you say? But I like to hear it. The next second, a glass was heard shattering. I didn't expect to meet Regis as soon as I entered. Regis seemed gone, because she saw her daughter holding Max's hand. Then Belial's words nearly killed him right there. "Father, let me formally introduce you to my love." The girl had just confirmed her relationship with Mao Mao, and he couldn't wait to bring Mao Mao home, to introduce their relationship to their elderly father. He thought that, since sooner or later he would open them, a direct entry wouldn't hurt. But his father was more excited than he expected. The guilty Max was also intimidated by his master's attitude and was breaking out in a cold sweat before he could speak. Regis asked first what was wrong. The saint's expression indicated that his father was extremely angry this time. But clearly, he didn't care how absurd he did. Why are there so many now? It must be because she did not obey to marry the crown prince, or because he chose his father's favorite disciple. But now that doesn't matter anymore. The most important thing is that your father accepts your relationship. This time, he will definitely not submit to his father's will. At that moment, Regis was deeply regretting. If only I had been a little more alert. At that time, I shouldn't have allowed that guy to get close to you. They soon arrived at the reception room. Maurice, with all the chivalry, opened the chair for Billion. Such a touching scene. In Regis's eyes, he was extremely unpleasant. That despicable boy. This is how he deceived his beloved daughter. Max knows his intentions. He who wants to overthrow the emperor. He just wants to use Bellion to pressure him and hasten the rebellion. How did the two of you meet? What had to come arrived, although the guards believed his lies. But that didn't work with the father. So Professor Bellion told her about the fringed kitten. Regis must have felt as if he was struck by lightning. I couldn't believe it. Her daughter sleeping with Max. Fortunately, the next second, Bellion explained that nothing had happened between them. I can finally breathe easy. If that Max dares to touch Bellion, I won't let him get out of this mansion alive. Why don't you tell Dali? Tell him to prepare a raffle for the room. When Regis said that, he was practically gnashing his teeth. The cat felt like it was going to be eaten in the next second. It was too late. To wake you up, I didn't care. Moreover, knights patrolled everywhere. It was not convenient to tell you. Besides, he is your disciple. I thought it sure wouldn't hurt me. Without knowing what, in Regis's opinion, this guy Max is the most dangerous existence. Several times I tried to change his personality, but he had already become a violent gentleman. As soon as he feels like you're worthless with his wild nature, he'll definitely hurt Belial. Maybe it even threatens Belial's life. At this point, Regis fell into deep remorse. From the beginning, he was wrong. He should never have accepted Max as an apprentice. At that moment, her thoughts were interrupted by Bellion's sudden statement, bringing her back to reality. What embarrassed father and daughter was that the daughter had been secretly in love with someone else all along. After everything that has happened, the person I like also likes me. That seems to me a miracle. Although I have always been a mess and an embarrassment to you, this time I will not disappoint you. So please allow us to be together. The word should leave Regis bewildered, disappointed. His daughter is the treasure he cares for with so much care. Whenever Bellion has wanted something, it has always been given to her. But Max is something I can't allow. I disagree. Break. I didn't expect my father to be so severe. Disappointment and despair flooded Bellion. Finally, my father made a decision. He wants her to marry the crown prince. That his daughter marries the violent crown prince Feng. A political marriage with his only daughter. It turns out that, in her father's eyes, instead of his useless daughter being reborn, an arranged marriage with the royal family is more valuable. Mao Mao instantly recognized her friend's footsteps. A large hand held to a small, delicate hand. The tree cannot disobey fate. The kitten meets the future father-in-law for the first time, and is rejected by him. He says he doesn't agree with them continuing their relationship, seeing that his girlfriend has already done everything possible. Now all that remains is to wait his answer. The tree cannot disobey fate. Master, remember your previous teachings. Fencing is to protect important people. Sometimes, people get stronger to protect that weakness. Someday, you'll find too, that important person you want to protect. Now I think I've found it. My weakness to the important person I want to protect the most. So even you can't guarantee that by separating yourself from him. The next second, Regis is not going to talk about his intentions. Right now, whatever you say, it doesn't matter. Anyway, if you keep pushing back, I won't give up either. Even though you're my teacher, it just so happens that Regis has that intention too. Well, since you say so, then I will no longer consider you my disciple. The two, at odds, refuse to give in. Thus Max was expelled from school. Before leaving, he doesn't forget to take Bellion with him. This act went beyond Regis's boundaries. Stop! I order you to stop. Extending a hand wants to stop Max. That he is furious. His tone was glacially cold. Don't order us. This ending is not what Bellion expected. And if we leave like this, it would not be an escape. Father, calm down. Let me fix it. This Bellion is someone I've never seen before. His body tensed in an instant. She saw how Max took her daughter. All the way, Bellion asked Max to stop. He said he had something to say to him. Seeing that Max had no intention of stopping, He stressed again that it was something very important. Max finally stopped. "Thank you for being so sad about what happened to me, but you have gone too far with me, father." In an instant, Max felt overwhelmed. If I just wanted to help him, this is not what I want. You're really helping me. I never wanted to be expelled or that you disrespected your father, imposing on others a dedication that they do not want. This is not really helping. It's just self-satisfaction. Then you don't need me anymore. The next second, his palm was wrapped by 2 soft keystones. Of course I need your help. But it is a method as extreme as the previous one. Then I must come up with another plan. So what do you expect it to do? I want you to reconcile with my father. To reconcile. Someone has to apologize first. Do you want me to apologize first? Yes. Looking at Belian's reluctant look to ask for forgiveness. If it is absolutely impossible, those words could not come out. They say that those who love more always lose more. The arrogant crown prince finally lowered his noble head. This scene was witnessed by Regis, who was secretly watching. Unbelievable, that guy actually listened to Belian's advice. It has really changed. Shortly after, the two reappear before Regis. "Father, we're sorry for leaving suddenly. Max has something to tell her. He doesn't think so. The boy she's been with for 10 years wouldn't change easily." But the next second, Max actually tilted his head to admit his mistake. He, always calm, Regis couldn't help but tremble. But even so, he remained convinced that Max's goal was simply to use Belian, to drag him into his plan of rebellion. Admitting his mistake now was probably part of the plan too. He would never easily believe it. I already said it, I have no disciples. The master's blunt attitude finally woke Max up. The master never intended for Belian to go on a blind date with him. Although he didn't know how the misunderstanding had come about, he didn't have the need to find out either. Seeing that there was not an ounce of reconciliation between them, Feiyan decided to take drastic measures. He fell to his knees in front of his father. "Father, I'm sorry. It's all my fault." To calm his father, the girl fell to her knees. "Father, I'm sorry. It's all my fault." The two men who a moment ago were arrogant, they suddenly panicked. "I should be the one to apologize to Belian. Get up, I apologize." But Belian knew very well how scary his father was when he got angry. After talking about money with his father, he still couldn't get up. The old father, with a jump, untied the cat. "I know. Get up first and then we'll talk. The ground is very cold. Get up quickly. Yes, the teacher is right. Get up and then we'll talk." But even if he gets up now, father will definitely not accept Max's apology. Belian then begged his father to forgive Max's rudeness. He didn't expect his father to agree right away. Little did he know that kneeling would work so well. "Get up quick. Get up, please." After his insistent pleas, Belial finally gets up and sits down again. I thought this would be easily resolved. The next second, the father's voice is heard. "I can forgive him for his oath, but I still disagree with your relationship. Still, Belial still doesn't plan to give up. We don't expect you to approve of our relationship right away, even for a little while. He may remain distant." Regis was already decided. No matter how much Belian begged, he wasn't going to give in easily. But they say that there are no parents who win their children. In the end, Belian will surely stick to her opinion. Rather than reject him now and affect the relationship between women, it is better to let him continue with his resentment. Some problem sooner or later will make Max see him as he is. When Belian sees Max's true face, then they will surely break up. Having planned all this, Regis agreed to the relationship request of both. This has made them very happy. "Thank you so much." Although the father feels very guilty about Belian's simple lie, it makes him feel very guilty, but this was all to protect Belian, because being with Max would only bring him problems. We changed the scene to Belian's room. So far, it is hard for him to believe it. His cold father's consent to the competition allows him to go on a date. Next, it is a matter of establishing the perspective of a contractual relationship. "What requirements do you have for me?" When I looked up, I saw the cat drinking tea. It's a delight to behold. His posture when drinking tea is like that of a nobleman. I'm sure he's a young man who has run away from home. That's what I was thinking. When Max spat out the tea he had just drunk, and asked Belian why he drank something so disgusting. The young nobleman's dream was shattered at that moment. Someone who doesn't know anything about tea. How can he be noble? This is the area's favorite high-end tea. Before long, Max wrote his own project. The first is that Belian cannot see other men for the duration of the contract. It almost makes Belian laugh. He doesn't want to see other men, only those who pretend to be in love. And a very important point. When Belial yells at Max, he has to yell once. Belian is surprised. 2 seconds later, with a red face, he says in a low voice, "Then no matter where you are, you must also say my name." Belian's cat immediately blushed. He said, scratching his cheek, that he knew that what Kitten had written was nonsense. Belian decided to use the format of an agreement to modify it. At sunset, it was finally over. Belian was completely exhausted and wanted to cry. He lifted the contract for Kitten to see. There is something else that needs to change. That Gato received the contract, he only looked at him for a moment and destroyed Belian's work. Belian trembled with rage. All the work I had done, it's that simple. If they didn't like something, they could say so directly. Thinking about it, when Max was with him, he was never considered. I took care of him for several days and he left without saying a word. After interrogating me, he disappeared without even looking at me. He always has a bad temper. Before, he turned a blind eye. A blind eye. It was because at first we had no relationship, but now we are going to sign the contract. We will see each other often from now on. How can I tolerate such disrespect? Our contract is void. The girl put a lot of effort into the contract. The man tore him to pieces with just a glance. What a lack of respect. The girl couldn't stand it anymore. With a serious face, she wanted to terminate the contract with him. The proud cat felt as if he had been struck by lightning, after having gotten permission to go out with him with so much effort. How could it break so easily now? After seeing Belian's nonchalant expression, Max panicked. He cursed the crown prince's tyrant from head to toe so that Belian would change her mind. He didn't even forgive himself. It can't be helped since you and I didn't hit it off from the beginning. Continuing will only tire us out. That idea of yours is too hasty. Also, since you broke the contract, that doesn't mean you don't want to reach an agreement. With that attitude, it is impossible to cooperate. The Maxton Stoneplate team was speechless. In reality, all this has to do with the habits he developed since he was a child. Lin Lee's work style has forged his habit of breaking things, and no one has ever noticed that he breaks up documents. If someone ignores your opinion, you would feel good. If I found out that the other party ignores my opinion, my self-esteem would be greatly affected and I would be in a bad mood all day. So, you're disgusted by my behavior. Yes, the truth is that I am very unhappy. At that time, Max still didn't want to admit his mistake, even though he was helping Belian. Now he has to see Belian's name. But if you find it difficult to cooperate with me, I think it is better that we do not continue. After all, I'm the one who's asking you for a favor. Belian's Max was really scared. His instinct told him that if he did it now, perhaps he would never see Belian again. But who was he? He didn't care how things were. The ideas are very firm. But the body is very honest. Check out Belian. The other makes a face about to cry. The next second, Max leans in to apologize and obediently signs his name on the newly arranged contract. After several twists and turns, the signing is finally complete. Then we can make our relationship public. A few days later, at Count Droz's tea party, Belian invited Mao Mao to accompany him. Max immediately put on a serious face. Do you know who will be attending that tea party? My friend, Miss Anli Lu, and her friends. As expected, he didn't know that Ji would be able to attend. Mao Mao beat his chest. I will definitely attend that tea party. I'll make that brat fall. A great gift for Belian. Suddenly, full of enthusiasm, Vera Belian with her head full of questions. Soon, the day of the tea party arrived. Rose and her friend Kim almost popped out their eyes because Ike, who was not invited, appear in the event at this time. Vero rightly states that he is just following the rules. The person providing the venue for the party is free to invite guests. But before that, he had clearly said that he had to get everyone's consent. Miss Ruth, when you invite your friends, it is not also a one-sided notification. Ruth was instantly speechless. Seeing yourself demanding so much from others and being so indulgent with yourself is not pleasant at all. Having said this, the young ladies who were on his side were instantly discouraged. One more customer doesn't make a difference, right? Everyone's reaction was within what Kai expected. So thank you very much, ladies. They clearly know that with these words from Kai, Belian will feel uncomfortable. But they all don't care. They chat and laugh. They are a group of traitors. Just then, the door opened. My God, I arrived at the agreed time. And it turns out that they were all already here. He looks at everyone present, with his eyes wide open, without exception, because the one who arrived with Belian was a handsome boy that none of them had seen before, the womanizer, to see his ex-girlfriend. Not only did he take advantage of the infatuation of the hostess of the tea meeting to infiltrate successfully, but also, with her tongue, she won over all the young ladies present. Despite all his calculations, he never imagined that his ex-girlfriend would come to accompany her of her current boyfriend. That man wasn't just taller than him, but also more handsome. In an instant, the scoundrel gnashed his teeth in rage. Gently lift the little girl, and Ruth the first to run to him. "Oh, excuse the indiscretion. Who is this gentleman who accompanies her?" "He's my boyfriend, Max." Max's handsome face. It leaves those young ladies enthralled. They can't help but exclaim how well they do together. The next second, he felt a surge of coldness on his back. Ika, which a moment ago was the center of attention, was now relegated, ignored by everyone. So much so that he trembled uncontrollably with rage. Bilian then became aware of the presence of Ika. Behind him, Max, with a murderous look. He stared at the womanizer. If looks could kill, I estimate that Ika has already died more than 10,000 times. Suddenly, and that he glared at her, burning with anger. She stared back at him with the same fury. This drama between the former and the current one, the curious enjoyed it beautifully, where the composure that a young lady of the nobility should have remained. But the facts were plain to see. The narcissist, and who is still in trouble. This is nothing more than a ruse by Bilian to get his attention. A ploy. He wants to provoke him with this poor man. For today, he will exhaust his patience. He suppressed his anger and gave his characteristic smile. "How long have you not seen you?" The sudden Bilian's outburst left both speechless. Before, because he was obsessed with that smile. Bilian used to be madly in love with him, following him everywhere. But now, he doesn't feel a hint of emotion inside. Answer coldly with a "how long without seeing you." Yikai's outstretched hand is suspended in the air. He ignores the jerk's surprised expression, turns and greets the cat affectionately. Before she can finish the sentence, she is hugged tightly. He wants that idiot Yikai to see it very clearly. Right now, next to Bilian, I can only see the defiant attitude of Max as the crowd comments on his appeal. At the time, Rose, on the side, received good reviews. Since today our tasting will have an unexpected guest, so one more guest shouldn't matter, right? What do you think? Bilian still feels guilty for bringing guests in without permission. The young nobles, on the other hand, annihilated him directly with their bare hands. After all, such a wonderful equestrian show is not seen every day. Bilian did not foresee that this situation would take an uncontrollable course. That is something that Bilian did not expect. Max may be performing well now, but he's a bomb about to explode. Just when he can't give in, the bastard Kai opposes it. He's an unexpected guest, so he doesn't seem to have the right to say that. In the midst of the confusion, Ruth shows up and does everything she can to defend her idol, Belen. Here's the second person who objects. This person is the host of the tea party, the enemy. This is an unjust paradise. This will only make Miss Bilian feel more comfortable. Please calm down, Maris. But he can offer Max days off. Just right, Bilian, still worried about where to leave the cat. Now, thanks to Varu, the problem is solved. This guy seems to get along with him, but as soon as she turns around, Bilian changes her face. For a while now, the others have been showing the color palette to Ike. It's all that daughter's fault. That imbecile strives only for the ex, the current one of a friend, showing his love intensely in front of the ex-girlfriend. But the ex-girlfriend doesn't care at all. The indifferent attitude, in the eyes of the lout, becomes this. Of course you're still in love with me. I knew it. How could you easily forget me? No matter how hard you fight, you won't escape the palm of my hand. Seeing this, Yikai acted more enthusiastically. He played the role of the attentive boyfriend perfectly. In reality, Dejan was worried about Vero. No wonder I felt that they got along. It turns out that Vero, just like him in his past life, fell in love with Yikai. The way Yikai treated her now was the same as how she treated him before. He was definitely not sincere. In the end, he will end up marrying the princess. Vero's ending will also fall apart. He really hopes Vero doesn't take the villain's path. Bilian commissioned Mao Mao before leaving, that he should not dare to come, that he should wait for him here obediently. But, in Mao Mao's view, now is not the time to slack off. We don't even know what that kid is doing right now. That disgusting guy is creating a sense of crisis for him. I can only apologize to Bilian. Just as Bilian feared, he came here to make trouble. The show has just begun. Meanwhile, the other man, the womanizer, still doesn't realize the impending danger. He continues to play the role of the attentive and considerate boyfriend with Molly. Veronica, when it suits you, could you go out with me? Veronica, who suffers from unrequited love, has already lost her mind because of the womanizer's strange attitude. He accepts the invitation to go out without hesitation. Unbeknownst to him, he is only Ikai's wife. Ikai, now I just want to see Belian's excitement at hearing this, because the Belian of the past went crazy when he saw a woman near her boyfriend, and even more so now that he is going to have a date with Vero. Surely he should get angry and make a fuss in front of others. To his surprise, Dijon was very busy chatting with the noble ladies. I just didn't take them into account. The robust Ike was furious. I couldn't believe my eyes, because Belian didn't even look at him. At that moment, the resourceful Rose had an advantage again. He wanted to formally invite Belian to be a member of his wine tasting. Belian, hearing this, was immediately nervous. He thought Ruth was praising him too much. The shyness he displayed pleased Ike, after all. Before, Belian only showed that expression to him. I didn't know where the problem was. He didn't expect others to support his idea. This was a good opportunity to get closer to young ladies her age. Although I am very tempted. But her current character deserves to be abandoned at any time. Before he could reject it, Vero's voice came against it. We have admission conditions. I am not blindly opposed. I just abide by the rules. After these words, Belian felt somewhat uncomfortable, as she did not meet the requirements. So there's nothing I can do. Don't worry. His erratic gaze suddenly focused on Bale. He had a tremor in his pupils, because Max suddenly appeared at the window. He almost spilled the tea in his hand. What if these people see it? His every move is watched by that cunning Yikai. This, of course, includes the work you've been looking out the window. With a single glance, his killer instinct was unleashed. Because at that moment, Max, in the tree, was also watching him. And there's another person who cares even more, and that's Belian, as she dares to do in front of him. To flirt with that boy. Perhaps he has not even realized that someone who does not stop thinking about the past despises him. Next, a battle of glances multiplied by 300. No, but Max's gaze becomes provocative. He raises his hand and puts it on Jinqian, making a gesture of death. What a provocation. If I could hold on, no, I would be a man. I've never seen such an arrogant brat. He gets up suddenly and says that he is going to take a breath. Vero also wants to leave, but he abruptly pushes his hand away. Not caring if Vero has nightmares, what he wants now is to kill that insolent man. When the girl was crazy about him, he ignored her. Now that she's found another, he goes crazy and can't accept it. In the face of the provocation of her new partner, the Cretan runs after them without a second thought. But Max was already waiting for him. You come out so slow because you were dragging yourself. Already annoyed, he became even more furious. He secretly decided that he was going to get rid of that ignorant little man. Meanwhile, Belian, on the other hand, concerned about the random judgments of the cat, he accidentally accepted Russ's invitation to join. The condition is to celebrate a tea party with a unique tea. He's still worried about it. The host of the tea party, Vero, came over, because at the party, he stared at me. And he sighed. It turned out that the emotions he was unconsciously showing worried Vero. After all, the one who is now by Yikei's side is him. Because I am very unhappy with Yikei, Wei Luojian opened her eyes even more. What do you mean by that? Because before I used to be reprimanded by him too. I always firmly believed that Yikei was sincere with me. You mean they used me? Vero trembled as he said that. You could tell he didn't want to admit it. That feeling was something Belian understood perfectly. After all, he had been like that too. I'm sorry. My flower has made you feel bad, but I didn't mean to hurt you. He knew he was getting into where he wasn't called. But seeing Vero, as if he saw his past self, left a bitter taste in his mouth. I will celebrate the tea ceremony as promised. If you don't want to, you don't have to come. After saying this, he turned and left. On the other hand, Max was frowning, because at that moment, Ike was screaming furiously. He took me out on purpose. Don't think you're going to get away with it. You asked for it, young man. I'm going to beat you up. He had not yet finished speaking when he lunged at Max with his sword. But Max easily dodged his powerful attack. Low Kai and still hadn't recovered from the shock when Cat gave him a flying kick in the abdomen. It made him vomit bile. It was Max taunting from above. Splattered things really are good for climbing. Someone so well trained is not ordinary. Who are you? What is your purpose with Belian? The only thing he received was a, "You're not worth knowing." The next second, a sharp sword was pointed at Mao Mao's throat. He didn't expect Yihai to be so irrational. He took advantage of the fact that Max was not paying attention to attack him by surprise. "I just got sloppy. If you keep talking nonsense, I'll cut off your head." Hearing this, Mao Mao was furious. "Belia hasn't told you. I am his beloved." Suddenly, a wave of anger. My God! I saw with my own eyes how the wind was approaching the garden, just 1 centimeter away. At the last moment, a cry of fury was heard, and Pigeon immediately lowered his sword. It turned out to be Bilian, at the head of a group of ladies who came here. "Have you taken my flowers for Tang Sanzang? I command you to put down your sword right now." The scoundrel put on a face of few friends. He shouted Berlian's name. What he received in response was an icy coldness. It wasn't Berlian, it was Miss Florian. Be aware of social hierarchy. Before, Berlian begged her to call him Berlian. Now, she walks away from him for that boy, because that's how it is. As much as he is afraid, he can only put away his sword obediently. Before she could finish asking, Berlian continued to ask, "Why did you do it?" pointing a sword at someone's boyfriend. "Wait, Bailey, there's a misunderstanding." These words were interrupted again by Max, behind him. "It's not Bailey, it's Miss." Interrupted again and again, and he lost his patience. He drew his sword, about to kill that insolent brat, provoked over and over again. The scoundrel couldn't take it anymore. He drew his sword to... But this arrogant brat, he was arrested for the words of his ex-girlfriend. A knight of the palace draws his sword just like that. If my father found out, how disappointed he would be. The next second, he directly bypassed the despicable man and ran to her current boyfriend, Max. His words of concern made Mao Mao blush, leaving Yikai alone, disoriented in the wind. But as soon as he left the Mei Palace, a hand was firmly grasped by the despicable man. "Talk to me a little." In an instant, Lian's pained little face twisted into a grimace. That struck a chord with Max regarding his age. He warned Yikai that if he didn't want to die, he should let go of his hand immediately. The next instant, Bilian stopped him. "Wait, Max, calm down a bit." Max's words were like lightning. He didn't understand why Bilian was stopping him, after Yikai had hurt him so badly. Thinking of this, the fury quickly skyrocketed. The burly Bilian reassured Kitty. "I'll just say a couple of things. Can you wait a minute?" Max's disappointment was evident in an instant. This made the cunning man very happy, and, as expected, that boy was only fantasizing. "Belial has always been my wife." Puss finally listened to Belial. Seeing this, Ike grabbed Belial and tried to change positions, but he flatly refused. He even warned her to remove her hand quickly. "Maybe you're touching the lady." Belial, so condescending. It was the first time she had seen him. An expression of disbelief. This time, it's Max's turn to rejoice. The powerful pressure shakes Yikai, causing a slight fear in his heart. And that is precisely the effect Bellium was looking for. Before, even if Yikai had a low status, Bellium ignored him, but now it will no longer do so. "I told you to let go. How many times do you want me to repeat the same thing? Things have come this far. Even if it costs Yikai, he has no choice but to let go. Taking coercive action without the consent of the other person. That is violence, not only against the dead, I hope with others. And try to avoid this type of action." After educating Iki, Berlian threw himself into Max's arms. Ike, not giving up, chased him again. "Why am I not the general of the children's room? You ignore me even now." "What do you mean by this? He was the one who provoked first. He's rude and he's rude to people. Did you choose that man on purpose to get my attention?" This Puxinen is irretrievable. An endangered species is created. For the past 2 years, Belian has been crawling at his feet. This sudden change of position is unbearable, because he is no longer interested in Yikai. "But you didn't say you loved me." "Yes, but I don't love you anymore." The impregnable fortress collapses at this instant. "The next time we meet, don't talk to me. I don't want to get into any more entanglements with you." Spectators are also quickly withdrawn, fearing that Yikai's fury would catch up with him at any moment. Yikai froze, unable to assimilate it. To say that he doesn't love me anymore, that he doesn't want to have anything to do with me, it's a joke, I don't agree. Viral, who arrives late, is very hurt. He hugs Ike and comforts him, but the next second the bastard kicks her out. Ike takes his anger out on Viral. Viral's body trembles, her eyes wide open. "Ike, how can you do this to me?" At that moment, Belian's words come to mind. Only then does he realize that he has actually been used. Tears of humiliation welled up in his eyes instantly. Ike's face contorted at that moment. With his vile intentions, he wouldn't give up so easily. He would make Belian fall in love with him again because of the cat girl that was everywhere. He accidentally unmasked the scoundrel. Although the matter was satisfactorily resolved in the end, the cat girl's provocation to the scoundrel was too reckless and impulsive. As with the Baron Gordon incident, the style and form have not changed at all. But before the cat causes a big mess, Belian decides to teach him a good lesson. I hope that from now on, in front of others, you will be more careful with your behavior. What just happened to Eclair could have had serious consequences, but the cat didn't care at all. I could beat 10 guys like that. Belian immediately felt very depressed. At that time, no one will care about his strength. If a commoner like him provokes a noble, it is very dangerous. With a little oversight, you could lose your mind. I'm not saying don't be strong. What will we do if something goes wrong? With his feline stubbornness, he says that nothing will happen. With an impenetrable attitude, Belian can no longer get up. He corners him against the wall. I'm worried about you. Even if you are strong and powerful, you cannot be so confident. The moment you make enemies with everyone, people will be attentive to the moment you make a mistake. Belian in the novel is like that. He sums up that his father is a hero of the Empire. She thinks she is superior because she is the Miss Duchess. As he made too many enemies, they all got angry at an important moment. And the only thing that awaited him was death. Thinking of this, Belian blushed. Mao Mao realized the seriousness of the problem. Finally, he meekly accepted his girlfriend's suggestion. Belian, seeing this, was immensely glad. He took Mao Mao's hand and said, "Thank you." He humbly listened to the opinions. In an instant, Mao Mao, embarrassed, looked away from those annoying guys. Only a good beating can calm me down. But since Belian is so worried about him, I will be magnanimous and forgive them. The next day, in the Duchy of Florence, Meow's eyes were wide open, with an expression of having eaten something else. It turns out that yesterday Belian invited him to dinner at her house. I thought it would be an intimate moment for the two of us. I was curious to know which car. I was going to bring that stubborn donkey from my father, and that's how Max joined an intimate lunch between women. My father had accepted their relationship, but now it seems that he does not like their presence. Although Max and my father have known each other for more than 10 years, the teacher's temperament is still unpredictable. In reality, this situation is not what Belian wanted. He also didn't know that his father would be home today. Gently tugged at Mao Mao's sleeve. "If you're nervous, sit next to me." That simple gesture left Ray's mother speechless. And the reason why Belian wanted Mao Mao to sit next to him, it was that he was worried that she wouldn't understand the etiquette at the table. Taste the soup on the rim. Max wanted to explain that he had learned at the age of 5. But Belian's confident expression made him swallow his words. At that moment, the butler asked her how cooked she wanted her steak. Fearing Max would make a fool of himself, Belian took the initiative and asked for the same doneness as him, medium rare. Hearing that, the kitten shuddered, just because he hates undercooked food. Sarah uses this fork to eat empty plates. They will remove it themselves. Right now, Regis has only one thought on his mind, and it is that her beautiful daughter has been licked by another man. Men should not be trusted so easily. At this moment, today's main course arrives. Belian is about to help him cut it. The sturdy spirit cat broke out in a sweat. He is not a child of a few years. Before he could refuse it, he heard his master's shout from above. As he looked up, he saw his master's grim expression. At that moment, Regis was furious. That arrogant Max. How dare he make his little girl cut the steak? I'll cut it for you. That Max is going to cut with that nonsense. And is it my neck? The man is just dating the girl, and the master already wants to cut his throat. In an instant, the man turned pale with fear. It turns out that all this time I had misunderstood him. The master just wanted to help him cut the steak. A quick cut, the blood on the steak gushed out. Unexpectedly, the interior was so different. Just like that boy, Max pretends like he loves my daughter. Max, in front of him, was also pretending. Pretending as if he agrees with our relationship. Prevention is better than cure. The Thai fashion show will be held. The sudden insinuation made Max gnash his teeth, because that was just what he meant. The bewildered Belian broke out in a cold sweat. It could be that the steak had too much blood, but the chef would never make a mistake. At that moment, his father's large hand reached out to him. "Give me your plate too." Suddenly, the mood changed from cloudy to sunny, but he soon regained his composure. After all, he had cut the disciple's steak. Not cutting it off for her daughter wouldn't be right either. The next second, the father invited them to tea later. This made Belial even safer. The father really loved his disciple very much. So today, why not try the tea I brewed? The two of them felt their hearts pounding at that. They couldn't miss the roof by Belian's own hands. That 10-kilometer sign orders Regis to attack immediately. Belian felt somewhat uncomfortable. He immediately said he would try it again. But his father flatly rejected the attack. This is not urgent. A bewildered Belian was stunned for a moment, but this is a real order. The next second, his father waved his hand. Now drinking tea is more important, Max immediately agreed. With no other choice, Belian hurried to make the tea. But it's okay to do this. He didn't want to offend royalty. Regis loved the tea her daughter made. It was the first time Belian had received a compliment from her father. A warm feeling ran through her. The sturdy cat also raised the teacup and sniffed it, indicating that the tea was indeed aromatic. Even Max, who didn't like tea, thought it was good. But Belian was not happy, because that just means that the tea itself is good. Thus, there is no need to worry about tea. But inside I felt a touch of bitterness. At that moment, Regis told Belen to go upstairs to rest. I had to talk to Max. It was time to give them some privacy. Belen said goodbye politely and left. My daughter just left. Reggie gets emotional and questions Max about why he is harassing Belen. What trick are you up to? Max, with his rhetoric, suddenly chokes. Then he stands up abruptly. What a trick! I was just saying. Suddenly, it stops. Regis, seeing this, put on an expression of knowing everything. But unsurprisingly, you can't tell him you love him. It's a lie. Berlian is a boy who has suffered a lot in his heart. Don't keep pretending you love him to get closer to him. After these words, the kitten finally realized it. I think I've really fallen in love with Berlian. These words left Regis stunned. It is true that at first, his approach to Belia was not pure. But only with him did she feel at ease, without defenses. Before him, he did not need to feign strength. When I was with him, he could even tolerate the things he hated. Bowing to him, asking for forgiveness as many times as necessary, did not matter to him. Perhaps for fear that he would leave. It turns out that she only fell in love with Belial. The air right now, in this season, you really love Belial. Even if you look with those eyes, my heart won't change. I'm a little sad. I'm no demon. But what he does not know is, for Regis, he is the demon who stole his beloved daughter. I have no intention of sharing a scene with him. That's all I wanted to say. Regis spoke sweetly and eloquently. But that boy's heart doesn't deserve pity. During the confrontation with his master, Mao Mao finally confirmed his feelings. Although at first his approach to Belian was not pure, it was true that he was not sincere. But after living with it day after day, he was gradually drawn to Belian's simplicity and kindness. At that moment, he realized that he had already fallen in love with Belian. That is why, even if his teacher prevented him from doing so, he had no intention of separating from Belian. Right now, he just wanted to see the girl he longed for so much. Belian, in his room, was still happy that his contractual relationship was going so well. Suddenly, an urgent knock on the door startled him. When he looked up, Max, leaning out of the window, scared him very much. I didn't expect him to continue with his hobby of entering through the window, having a perfectly functional door. When you open the window, it breaks down. Take on the beautiful face of Mao Mao. What's going on? His face is very red. He looks like he has a fever. Are you okay? But after asking for a long time, he didn't listen to Mao Mao's answer. The next second, she saw him smile silly and took Belial's small hand. He muttered to himself that he finally understood. I understood its dark events. Why had it acquired such a dazzling edge? Of course, he didn't say out loud what was next. This left Belian completely bewildered. He will not be delirious. We really don't need to call a doctor. No, and that's how this happened. Max stares at Belian, glued to the mirror as well, to break the uncomfortable atmosphere. Belian changes the subject. What did your father tell you? I'm afraid the teacher is suspicious of our relationship. He responds calmly, but it scares Belian quite a bit. I can't believe my cheesy performance has been questioned. Maybe we don't behave like a real couple, so I've been thinking that maybe we need to get to know each other a little better. I have to say, when it comes to blatant lying, Max is talented. What do you like? Berlian had not yet answered, when he hastened to say that he liked to watch. That gave Berlian a clue. You mean that kind of thing? Well, I like books. I also like to contemplate the flowers. And he also likes tea. This is how he gradually got to know Berlian. Max was very happy, but Berlian became depressed, worried that this might actually deceive his father. He felt that his father was not resigned to the crown prince. If they were discovered, they would be lost. At that moment, Max asked her what she wanted to ask her. "Do you hate the crown prince so much?" It cannot be said that the crown prince ever wanted to torture him, so they can only use rumors to cover it up. Earlier, I heard that he even killed his own astropath, but what people don't know is that it was because that astropath poisoned him. At this time, Max has gathered. Draw conclusions based only on rumors. It's not too hasty. You haven't even seen it. People haven't seen bears or leopards either, and they're still afraid of them. That terribly infamous kind of person, if I see him, could lose his life, where he could go to demand justice. Not only is he not a big bad wolf, but a docile kitten who likes mice. If the crown prince promised not to kill you, would you marry him? Although I don't know why Max is so obsessed with the crown prince. Just thinking about it gives me chills. He always talks about him. Now the crown prince does not leave his head. To quickly change the subject, Berlian decides to simply protect you. If it doesn't kill me, maybe I'd consider it. Max, seriously, you can see the joy even in his ears. So now I just have to assure her that I'm the crown prince, and I'll be able to marry her, right? When he thought about it, he could no longer sit still. He had to return to the palace immediately to improve his image. Notice this little girl breathing heavily. From now on, her mother goes to play hide and seek with her. As long as Mom doesn't call you to go out. You have to hide in the closet. Understood. The innocent daughter asks her father, "Dad has come to look for us." Berlian's mother firmly grips her daughter's shoulders and scream, "That man is not your father. You must not tell that man where you are. He's a monster." The girl, terrified, asked her mother tremblingly, "If we discover monsters, what will happen to Berlian?" At that moment, her mother grabbed her by the neck. "Then you will die." But strangely, his mother transformed into the bloodthirsty crown prince. Berlian woke up with a start. "So I was having a nightmare. Mom, this unknown person, why would he suddenly appear in your dream?" 20 years ago, the Hachette Empire had a long war with the kingdom of Terrace. The young emperor, on the defensive, escaped from the palace. An ordinary knight of the palace stood alone at the front of the battle. The coward and the great hero who won the war. That is, the current emperor and Duke Florian. Thanks to Regis's superficial attitude towards the emperor, the talk of abolishing the emperor was calmed, but people still think that the emperor is a coward. A coward like that. But the emperor caught Regis for a reason. That leads immediately to the south. There is news that Marquis Reynolds is planning a rebellion. Marquis Reynolds was defeated in the south. Expert in military strategy. He has always advocated training and strengthening the army. This recruitment is nothing more than a strategy to counter the Limburicon invasion. The stupid emperor is misunderstanding a loyal subject again. This time, he will not be separated from Berlian by an order like this. Regis Guillaume convinced the emperor that he should not doubt the loyalty of the Duke Kingdom. But the emperor didn't care at all. The reason why he did this was simply because he had no influence over the Duke, and the emperor did not doubt Regis's loyalty, precisely because he has his weak points in his hands. Reginald can only be on his side at this point, but he cannot retain the loyalty of the other ministers. He wants others to be like Reginald, to have all their weaknesses in their hands. I've never seen someone so brazen. Reginald would like to dismember him. Dogs. The emperor disappeared without a trace of this empire. But it is not yet the time. He still can't leave Belian alone. To his beloved, Belian, trapped in the pain that he himself inflicted on her, just for loving his useless father. The poor little thing bears all the misfortune. Even if your daughter hates it all her life, it doesn't matter. He knows that he does not deserve his daughter's forgiveness for what he did to her, but he just hopes she remembers that as a father. There was not a single moment when he did not love her. So, please, let him wait a little longer. As soon as he frees himself from these bonds, as soon as I can, he gained the freedom to love him at will. Just then, Crown Prince Max arrived. How long? The son was frightened that his father would break in directly. It seems that they are talking about something very important. What is it about? I am very curious, Your Majesty. The red eyes. My father's blood gives me chills. Being that she did not even dare to look him in the eye. After years, it looks so threatening. If Regis is sent north or south, who knows what this guy might be up to? Just then, Regis stepped forward. His Majesty is giving orders. It's better to wait outside. Max looked at Regis with resentment. Duke Florin, how dare you give me orders? His Highness will disobey an imperial order if he doesn't leave here. The sturdy emperor was delighted. He had a dog that obeyed him, without complaint at any time and place. It seemed that to control the audacious Max, he had to keep Regis by his side. So the emperor decided to choose someone else to send to the south, due to the interference of the crown prince. The emperor canceled the mission south of the Duke of Florence. He wants Reggie to stay to control the woman. Regarding the return of the crown prince, the one who feels the most danger is her stepmother. That is, the current Queen Elizabeth. Then he learned that the spies sent had lost contact for a whole week. A glass crashed against that officer's head. Then the protagonist of the novel appeared, holding his mother's hand as his older brother has returned. So you should go say hello and welcome him. After all, no one wants to welcome it. On the other hand, Regis was very pleased. This boy Max, amazing that he can scare his own father so much. As he thought that, a figure blocked the dragon. It was Max, who had been waiting for them for a long time. The two arrived at the Crown Prince's palace, until the maid completely withdrew. Max took off his heavy helmet. Your Highness, what do you want to tell me? The master calls him His Highness. He is truly a meticulous man. Even alone, he is so cautious. Max wants to know what the emperor said to his master, but Regis did not tell him, because the emperor gave an order, so he has to find out himself. Max wants to use his power to pressure someone much lower than his current status. Thanks to His Highness's performance just now, I won't have to go south, so forget about continuing to bother my daughter. As he said this, Max's heart skipped a beat. He didn't expect that his master still wouldn't accept him. He raised his hand and threw away the cup of tea. There was nothing that went well with him. The cup of tea that flew out was firmly caught. Keep in mind that that cup of tea is as expensive as gold. He originally planned to quash the punishment on behalf of the crown prince to tell Belian that he wasn't that terrible. But Regis had charged the butler that from now on, the letters sent by the royal family should be delivered to him. This way, Belian would surely not receive the letter. He will not wait to die. Right now, he will go to find Frey to find a solution. It is Victor who offers himself from behind. I'm also good at coming up with plans. The face under the helmet looks 90% like Max. It turns out that Victor is the Crown Prince's double. On days when Max is not around, he takes it upon himself to impersonate the Crown Prince to mislead. Take off your helmet. He was instantly the object of Max's fury. If anyone finds out that you are an imposter, I will not forgive you. After saying this, he quickly left. The next second, Victor threw his helmet to the ground. He could no longer stand that heavy equipment. I wanted to throw it into the fire and get rid of it. But it would never have occurred to him that Max would return to the fray. Realizing this, Victor's face turned pale. Not so, Your Highness. The armor was too slippery. But Max, instead of punishing him, asked him for help. As it turns out, Victor was known on the team for being an inveterate womanizer. Now she just wants to know how Victor secretly sent letters to his lover. So that night, Max appeared in the distance, outside Florian's mansion, tying the carefully prepared letter to the leg of a pigeon. If you dare to fly somewhere else, you'll see what I do to you. Give it to him in hand. The pigeon escaped, terrified from the claws, flying quickly towards Belian's room. If he could read this letter, he would be reassured. The pigeon flapped against the window, as if something had scared her. He tapped the window pane with a letter. The strange scene scared the girl very much. You don't want to break the glass to get in. Thinking of this, the girl fell to her knees on the ground. The maiden's appearance was like a ray of light. The girl, helpless, hugged the maid. Merlin Lee, stay away from that pigeon. He even pushed his precious miss away. Merlin Lee picked up the tray and threw it away. You're looking for death. The broken bird. He tries again to approach Our Lady. The poor pigeon can only return without success. At that moment, the ring on its leg emits a dazzling light. Merlin Lee then discovers the message tied to the pigeon's leg. And carrier pigeons are often used to send secret messages. They are mainly used on the battlefield. For the nobility, its use is prohibited. I don't think anyone is going to send me a carrier pigeon. It will be a letter of dread. Or does Merlinly know a lot? He guessed at once that it was a love letter to the young lady, but Berelia immediately denied it. After all, sending letters with a courier is not romantic at all. In addition, among the animals he fears are birds. And if it were a love letter, why use such a secret method as a messenger? Intuition told him so. Surely it was malicious maintenance. Meanwhile, the pigeon trembled on the other side. His life hung in the balance for Max. He asked him in a murderous tone why he had not handed it over. I didn't warn you that I wouldn't forgive you if you failed. The poor pigeon just wanted to die. He hated all humans who mistreated animals. At that moment, the knight came to look for her. Immediately, he saw the blood on the pigeon's legs. Your Highness, what does this letter say? I won't kill you. What's going on? Good thing you didn't deliver it. The Crown Prince, whom you've never seen, suddenly writes to you. He said he would not commit suicide, in addition to all his rumors. This is not a great misunderstanding. If you want to approach him as the Crown Prince, you must first arrange a meeting. Max confronts the conscious feminine color. Finally, he has a good strategist. The pigeon thus saved his life, and also brought news that Reynolds was recruiting soldiers. That man had long advocated training troops. I had also heard about this in the media. Soon, he guessed, apparently they dominate the invasion strategy of the neighboring country, Lacan. In addition, they found that the South and the base are fighting for food. Its objective is, apparently, to deal with famine. And to deal with famine, it's a good excuse to prepare military supplies. Max immediately decided to contact the Reno brothers. But this action was rejected by the knight, because any movement on the side of Reynolds, the Emperor will know instantly. A slight mistake in the action will be considered rebellion. But Max doesn't see it that way. On the contrary, he sees it as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If he succeeds, not only the power of the South, but the entire empire will be his. He was originally sent south to keep an eye on Reynolds' research tools. But because of the appearance of the Crown Prince, he no longer has to go. This is the perfect setting for him. He will take this opportunity to curry favor with celebrities, while his stupid father does not discover the money and prepares. Because of his impulsive character last night, the Duchess is physically and mentally exhausted. Today is the day of the photo shoot. All the young ladies have responded to the invitation and have come. Vero's arrival is something I didn't expect. Originally, according to Imperial protocol, no matter how small the event is, the host family should come out to greet the guests. But my father is definitely not interested in that. Thinking about it made Billian somewhat disappointed. At that moment, the young lady's gazes were attracted by something. My God, there's the lady's brother too. That's not his brother. Billian still wondered. When a brother had appeared, when he turned, he was surprised by the scene in front of him. Let my father personally attend this informal meeting. Welcome. This is something Berlian would never have imagined. After all, he hadn't even mentioned this to his father. Greetings to the great hero of the Empire, Duke Florent. They are all friends of my daughter. Don't be so formal. I hope everyone has fun today. It is a pleasure to be personally received by the Duke. You can tell that everyone is happy. At that moment, Regis suddenly lowers his leg and caresses his daughter's head with his big hand. Someone even prepared a frontal portrait. It's impressive. The father does not skimp on praise, which left Berlian completely baffled. By the indulgent gaze of his father, it wasn't hard to see that his father had really changed. Now, in this way, it was as if Berlian were his precious daughter. That paternal love was enviable. For this performance, Berlian prepared a special flower tea. A fragrance suddenly ran out. Heart of liquor. Everyone wonders where this aroma comes from. It turns out that Berlian used the characteristics of tea. Generally, when people store tea, the aroma of tea is simple. But if dried petals are put into the tea, the floral and fruity fragrance like sweeties will seep in. You can not only smell it, but also drink it. And so, Berlian wins over a group of admirers again. Miss, you are amazing. How did he know about this method? You're a genius. You should know that these are Berlian's prized flowers. The flowers that he protects with so much effort. They are the secret of his success. The old father, from the floor above, observes everything. Her daughter finally has a valuable friendship. He's happy for his daughter, and Berlian is the reason Regis keeps going. In the mansion they flourished 13 years ago. Regis returned home as usual, covered in blood. Now, this place for him is no different from hell. the place to languish in this hell. It is better to die and end it all. If not, we will build a milk bowl. Son, open the door. Dad, you're back. But only a sepulchral silence answered him. But Belian didn't care in the least. He went to his father's bed and poked his little head out. Dad is asleep. Belian is bored. But Regis stopped at nothing, just because he can't be with his daughter now. Belian stared like this for a long time. He unconsciously fell asleep in his father's arms. But even in dreams, he does not forget to cheer on his father. Mrs. Luna, don't let my dad freeze. Rabbit, you have to protect Daddy well. Grandpa Star, please light up, Dad. I want Dad to be happy. Regis's broken heart at this moment is healed. Belian is his only refuge. Only she can save him. How could she not love her daughter? For his daughter, he would do anything, even if it cost him his life. It is the first time that Belial, the red-eyed father, has seen her like this. Noticing his daughter's gaze, Regis flees in terror. The crown prince's room was littered with cat corpses. Naturally, they blamed her, who was very young. Everyone prayed that she would not be sent to serve the empress, so fierce at such a young age. A real demon. Max, disconsolate, ran to his mother's chambers, but she rejected it with her words. At that moment, Max felt very aggrieved. Mother, it really wasn't me. Please believe me. Please don't hate me. The empress, with a heavy heart, embraces her son. How could he hate his own beloved son? She is convinced that her beloved son would never do such a thing. And he knows that everything is Isabel's work. And the reason she doesn't let Max into the room is for fear that Isabel is hiding there. From a young age, always only a mother is willing to believe in you unconditionally. Now there's another person willing to believe in him like that. That's his girlfriend, Belian. He really likes it very, very much. Do not worry. You're doing great. Trust yourself. So, kittens, who can resist? Just an hour ago, everyone has already heard it, His Highness the Crown Prince has returned. Hearing this, the young ladies present were as if petrified. By chance, at that moment Max arrived. To attend this special screening, it had even been arranged with special care. If he wasn't engaged, I suppose those noble ladies have already jumped on him. Belial applauds happily on the sofa next to him, signaling the cat to come this way. What a pleasant life, it makes you envious. But Vero, on the other side, becomes pensive. Thank goodness the lady has found a partner, so they will not choose her to be the crown prince's consort. The two of them, with their own hidden interests, felt a chill. The crown princess was planning a grand plan. When they hear of the election of the crown princess, the young ladies are terrified. There's no news about the choice of the crown princess yet, is there? His Highness has long since come of age. They should choose a consort soon, right? Seriously, how could anyone want to be the crown prince's wife? They say that even His Majesty the Emperor has abandoned him. It is the scum of the scum. A demon. So women will stay away from His Highness, right? With 3 hits in a row, he almost vomits blood. Check out Belial. He has an impassive expression. If I could, I would sew up those young ladies' mouths. But tell me, have any of you seen the prince's face? They say that he wears a helmet because his face is monstrous, and that his personality is just as terrible. That since he was a child, he has sadistic tendencies. So the rumor has it that the Empress abandoned her son because of it. Hearing this, Max shudders. Even Belian, who has never liked the Crown Prince, thinks it's too much. You see, none of you have met His Highness the Crown Prince yet. It is a bit early to say these things. He could also be a good person. Hearing that, the kitten couldn't believe it. He opened his eyes wide. The gossiping ladies showed a great fright on their faces, and hurriedly supported what Belian said. Actually, Belian just wanted to stop this issue quickly. After all, if the Crown Prince found out, they would all be executed for the crime of insulting the royal family. He didn't want to die so young, the cat next to him chuckled. I was right. You can't judge someone just by hearsay. What a kind lady. A young woman with a good heart. Rose also felt deeply about Miss Florence. He always thought it would be as terrible as the rumors said, but after living with her, he discovered that the lady is especially kind, thanks to the flower bud tea from the aromatic garden. Belian managed to become a member of the Tea's Council, and the people who attended today's meeting will be in the future close relatives of the princess. Back then, they will only recognize Belian as the villain who poisoned the princess. They are them too. to prepare for that day. Belian decides to get along with them. Crown Prince Van is about to leave for the southern front. Their only concern is that Xiaonu will cause trouble. Jingjing has also learned to comfort people. That smile is unlike any other. Seeing Belian made my heart pound. Actually, I have something to tell you. We may not be able to see each other for a while. Hearing this, Belian's heart shrank. He got up suddenly and asked why. Max didn't say it directly, but expressed it tactfully, saying that he had been planning to do something for a long time. Seeing the worry in Belian's eyes, Max pinched her cheek. "Don't worry, this is a piece of cake for me." Belian finally calmed down. A second later, Max's insensitive comment. It made Belian squirm in embarrassment. "It looks like your makeup is smudged." Belian pulled out a handkerchief, but he snatched it from her, staring into his girlfriend's eyes. "I don't allow you to fall in love with anyone while I'm not here. Don't forget the content of the contract. We're lovers. You know." Belian's little face was probed by the extreme closeness. Before he could recover, Max left without hesitation. When he realized that his handkerchief was missing, there was no sign of the cat in the house. He consoled himself by the thought that he hadn't seen him in days, but she still felt a little sad. I had planned to eat dessert with the cat today. Now, suddenly, he had lost his appetite. Meanwhile, Max was clutching the handkerchief in his hand. It would be the most important thing for the next 2 months. Time flies. Since I joined the tea club, it's been 2 months. In this time, we have held 4 meetings. Berlian and the other ladies have become closer. Although the social activities have gone quite well, no matter how close we get, being with them, I always have a feeling of emptiness and loneliness. Lately, my father has changed a lot. I wanted to talk to him. But today, he left quickly again. Max has not communicated at all, which makes Belian very sad. He will be the cause of this emptiness. You've heard about it. Limbraham has declared war. Winyan's Belian reacted immediately. In the novel, Reno, who had always advocated maintaining an army, was sent into battle, but in the end returned defeated. I have to go into battle by order of the Emperor. Hong Lekun will save the Aceh Empire. He will bring peace and victory to the Empire. But from the mouth of the veil, he heard a completely different version. There is no longer any need to worry about war. They say that thanks to the Crown Prince, the war has already been won. Belial visualized it directly on the spot. Where have you heard that? The Brother of Light has been proclaiming it elated everywhere. It seems that His Highness, the Crown Prince, knew about it 2 months in advance. With Reynolds leading the way with gunfire, His Highness personally broke into the enemy camp. And he beheaded the enemy leader. Finally, we won a landslide victory. Therefore, a victory banquet will be held within a month. All nobles must attend. Berlian was stunned by the news. Originally, it was supposed to be within 2 months. There will be trouble at the princess's birthday banquet. At that time, he will receive a pair of the princess. I thought he just had to be careful at the princess's birthday banquet. The sudden celebratory banquet is to end his little secret prematurely. Right now, he just hopes he can have a good time. Inside the dark tavern, a man in a cape came in with great strides. He stopped in front of another man in a cloak. Diebing looked up to greet him. I didn't expect that Regis, from the same era, hadn't changed at all. Under the gaze of inherent wonder, Regis yanked his wig off. This was after the coup of his wife, Maria, the first meeting of the two. It turns out that the German soldier was a magician. He wanted to confirm it with her, whether or not Max could become emperor. The girl just answered and was followed by a strange old woman. Without saying anything, he grabbed her hand tightly. With the unfolding of the golden magic circle, the mystery surrounding the girl comes to light. The person who goes against the tide was supposed to endure, but he made a terrible decision. You will experience the pain and heart of those who appreciate you. I hope you survive this time. Belian pulls his hand away in panic. He squeezes his trembling hand with a heavy heart. This person speaks as if he knows he has already died once. He can't just go away. That cold and strange woman, suddenly. He laughed. The prediction just now requires a donation. Please pay for a gold coin. This fortune-telling of buying and selling was an eye-opener, right? However, one problem after another. Her Royal Highness the Princess is actually alone crying in the street. Because in 2 months it is her coming-of-age ceremony. The Emperor will hold a banquet for the Crown Prince in a month's time. His brother, without a doubt, has stolen the limelight. Because of her female identity, she never received her mother's love. When he suffered some injustice, he could only hide and weep in silence. Belian, treated unfairly, at this moment feels in anger. He left the temple with great strides. Their eyes met in the air. He saw the tearful face clearly. He thought the other person might be in a bad mood. At that time, the right thing to do was to avoid it. But Li's gasp was infinitely amplified in his ears. Finally, he felt sorry for him. He held out a handkerchief to Li. But the other party does not seem to want to reciprocate. Why do you give me this? Do you dare to feel sorry for me? His angry appearance is exactly the same as Max's. Perhaps with passion, yes, in their most difficult moments. She also sat like this in the street, crying. The excitement lasts only a second. My thoughts were interrupted by an embarrassing sound. The reality was that he was wiping his nose with his handkerchief. Keep the handkerchief. Kaliki had no reason to do so, but began to vent. They have too many expectations of me. Sometimes, out of fear, I want to give up those expectations. But then I fear being rejected and I can't give up. Hear how much she looks like this Buliar. Do you have change? Please. I care if you don't have it. I barely said that, and Licht already had a gold coin in his hand. Who are you looking down on? So, throw the change into that source. Make a wish. Belian first demonstrated the oracle procedure to be able to get along with his father. There is still hope that Max will return safely. That seemingly simple comfort made Richie stop crying. Mimicking Belian, he tossed the coins randomly, and surprisingly, they fell in the center. Congratulations, I'm sure your wish will come true. Normally, he doesn't believe in those superstitions. But Belian was smiling at him. Suddenly, he felt cured. At that moment, Vero and the auxiliaries arrived. That meant Belian had to go. But even so, he didn't forget to cheer for Laki. Although I don't know what happened to you. I hope it will be solved soon. The force of words did not answer. The Empress's voice echoed in my head. Don't expect kindness from anyone. You can't become weak. For your mother, you must be perfect, as crown princess of this empire. You must be perfect up to this point. She stomped on the scarf under her feet. Who does? He cannot criticize his future. The girl only went shopping with her best friend. The old father was so worried that he couldn't sit still, even with a protective gentleman accompanying his daughter. He still doesn't trust it. The door slammed open. Seeing her daughter safe and sound at home, he finally calmed down. Be careful next time and don't come back so late. Go change your clothes. I'll be waiting for you here. The kind father left him a little stunned, but the next second, he regained his dejection. In fact, the attentive Regis had already noticed. Ever since Max left for the battlefield, his daughter began to be melancholy. Although Max was planned to leave in this period of time, I didn't expect Max's departure to affect Belian so much. I'll have to admit it at the end. That even without me, he can protect my daughter. That the person who fills the loneliness of my daughter's heart is Max. But I, as a father, am not even ready for my daughter to leave my arms. It was time for the warm dinner between mother and daughter. Belian was still out of appetite. Missing someone after so long, half a slice of tomato was shaped like Max. I didn't know if he was eating well. He had thought about asking his father when Max would return, but if his father found out that he had not received a letter, he would surely worry about their relationship. Max will never return. At that thought, Belian's depression was evident. His small intentions did not escape his father's eyes. I have heard that the Crown Prince has done great merits in the war against Rakan. He will soon return. Therefore, within a month, the Chongun banquet will be held. How exciting! But what he doesn't know, it is that Belian does not know the true identity of little Max. This news for Belian is like adding salt to the wound. He's not thrilled at all. There she learns that her daughter still does not have the gift ready for the banquet. Reginald immediately drew a black card. Don't worry about the price. Treat as you like. The famous blank check of the Florian family. Belian's golden eyes are almost dazzled. Pull out that letter before the banquet. That means that getting the Crown Prince's favor is an absolute necessity. Looking at my father's loving smile, the question I wanted to ask him didn't come out of my mouth. Instead, there was only gratitude. Father, you've changed so much lately. On the outskirts of the city, on the other side. Someone was on his way to the capital without rest. The Crown Prince, Max, was in the lead. The new handkerchief held him tightly. We will finally see each other. Belian, I'll go right to your side. When he arrived at the palace of the Duke of Florence, it was already early in the morning. Belian had not slept either. Lately, I was terribly tired, but I couldn't sleep. Hopelessly, he ordered the maiden to bring tranquilizing incense. He has been using it for days in a row. He thought that way he could fall asleep soon. But not only did he not fall asleep, but it gave him a terrible headache. This is the side effect of using calming incense. In severe cases, it may even. Suddenly, a long, mist, deep voice rang out. Open your eyes. And Max is there, right in front of him. Belian blinks, confused. It's a dream, as it can be here. He can't be here. You're fine, I miss you. Belian calls her cat and opens her arms. The next second, he pulls Max's name tightly. He doesn't even yell at her, I really must be dreaming. Max bristles in pain, but Belian thinks he looks good. Suddenly, he lowers his head. Emotions that have been pent up for so long burst out at this moment. In an instant, the cat panics. What's going on? Do you see Rennis? Why are you crying? Hearing this, Berenice is enraged. He hits Max's chest over and over again. Why haven't you given me news? You're heartless. They say that a small separation is like a new wedding. This phrase also applies to couples. For 2 months, Delia has not received any letter from her boyfriend. He doesn't even know if Max has suffered any accidents on the battlefield, or if he has left secretly because he hates him. This long accumulation of bitterness surfaces suddenly. A deep sense of guilt envelops Max. He tightly squeezes his girlfriend to his chest. From now on, wherever I am, as soon as I get away from you for a while, I always write to you. Max's presence reassures him with the help of relaxing incense. It doesn't take long for him to fall asleep. Just as Max is about to leave, the person in his arms holds him tightly. The cat, losing its balance. A hunting dog. That's how he cornered Belial in bed, looking at the face of absolute beauty. So close. Max's heart was beating at full speed. This is too close. This time, it's you who won't let me go. The two slept together in an extremely ambiguous posture. Meanwhile, Regis visited his beloved wife's grave alone. She took a card from a bouquet of fresh flowers. The handwriting was clearly Devon's. As he suspected, Devon had established this place as a point of contact. On the back of the card, he was informed of the progress of a matter that Regis had entrusted to him. Belian died tragically in his arms. In this life, he will definitely protect his daughter. That night, Brian dreamed of Max again. In the dream, she saw him safe and sound. Brian got even angrier. If he was fine, why didn't he contact him? So he beat him up. You could tell he was really happy. At that moment, Max, who was next to him, turned around. As he opened his eyes, a shiny pectoral stuck to his face. Above her head, she felt the boy's warm breathing. That's when he realized he wasn't dreaming. The next second, the boy hugged him tightly. I had never witnessed such a scene. In his panic, he didn't know whether to escape or not, especially when she remembers that the night before she had cried and made a fuss, and that he had also behaved like a spoiled child. He would have loved to find a mouse hole to crawl into. At that moment, Max woke up. What are you up to? Belian panicked. With wit, he lied that he was having a nightmare. Wen Yan, the kitten, was extremely cute. Even if you have a nightmare, don't pull your hair. Do not worry. From now on, I will always be by your side. I didn't think you'd cry so much for missing me. The sudden call embarrassed him so much that his face turned red as a tomato. It's the first time in his life that he's felt so embarrassed. Let's have breakfast. But even though it looked like a cozy breakfast, Belian was so uncomfortable that he could dig a hole in the ground. Because Max, for a while now,